Welcome to Watch, Review, Repeat. This is the podcast where two best friends discuss the latest in film and television and then do it all over again the following week. My name is Colton Brown, and joining me is Andrew Meadows.
Colton Brown, I could not be more excited to join you this evening to talk about a movie.
To talk about the trial of the Chicago 7. What has you so excited? Did you respond to this film in a particular way or something?
I did. I think it's, we'll get into it. But I did respond to it, and I'm excited to hear your thoughts on it, because it's kind of in your wheelhouse, seeing that it is centered around a trial.
It's a little courtroom drama, almost a throwback of sorts, in some ways. But yeah, it is for someone that is a law student like myself. It certainly is an interesting film, and it will certainly be an interesting film to talk about. So yeah, I would say that I'm excited as well.
Yeah, so here we are on the eve of my day of birth, talking about a movie about a trial.
That's right. Well, I guess by the time this goes up, your birthday will have come and gone, so might as well say at this point, happy birthday, sir.
Well, thank you. I've by the time this goes on, I will have been roaming this earth for over 29 years.
29 years. Wow. Almost at 30, but not there yet.
29 years.
Is that your geriatric voice? So what's happening there?
Geriatric voice is what's going on.
Yeah, well, you're really getting up there in the numbers for sure. No doubt about that. Yeah, well, I sent you your birthday present a little bit early. I know we talked about it. I think perhaps the last episode, the Star Wars Rebels art book. So yes, I hope you enjoy your birthday. And for those that are listening, I'm sure that they will join me in saying that they hope you enjoyed your birthday retrospectively. So. So yes, that's very exciting, and this episode I think will be very exciting as well. I think we've used the word exciting a few times, and I think our listeners will find that that's for good reason. So on the front of the trial of the Chicago 7, I asked you before we started recording if you had a fun fact to present, and you said, you know what, I think this might be in your ballpark, with the whole law school, practice of law, courtroom connection, which is valid. It's valid. So I scrambled a little bit, but I have something that I'm going to run by you, and so we'll see how it goes. The first thing I guess I want to say about the trial of the Chicago 7, I don't think this is really a fun fact. I think it's pretty apparent for people that have either seen the film or have seen the trailer or kind of know a little bit about it. It is, of course, based off of a true story. And it is a doozy of a story as the film goes to some lengths to depict. And it's certainly something that we'll be deconstructing, I think, in our conversation about the movie. I think something we'll probably end up doing in spoilers, just to flag it for later, is talking about how much of this is true, how much of it isn't, what was kind of made for the movie and stuff like that. It's a dramatization of a real life event, basically, is how it goes. Written and directed by Aaron Sorkin, who, I've been watching a lot of The West Wing. He is the creator and the writer of almost all of the episodes through the first 4 seasons of that. So I'm in full Aaron Sorkin mode, so I'm loving it, obviously. Yeah, this thing, there's a lot of shenanigans that happen in the trial of the Chicago 7, in the real life event and in the movie itself. And so I wanted to kind of draw on something that comes up pretty frequently in the movie. And I think that talking about this isn't necessarily a spoiler in itself, because it happens pretty frequently throughout the movie. I wanted to talk a little law. I wanted to talk particularly about what contempt of court is. I think that might be kind of fun.
Apparently
right?
Nothing. I don't. Is it anything?
It's a real thing, obviously. I mean, it wasn't just made up for this movie, and it can have some weight and it can have no weight, depending on kind of what happens with it. So, contempt of court is, to quote the Legal Information Institute at Cornell Law School, which I've browsed a few times in my time in law school, I won't lie. They call it, quote unquote, the disobedience of an order of a court. So, from what I understand, and in my 2+ years of law school, contempt of court can be classified as either civil contempt or criminal contempt. Civil contempt is basically saying, all right, you haven't done something, but we are filing a civil, we are issuing a civil contempt to compel you to do the thing that you are supposed to do. So it's basically a court order dictating you are now required to do this. Granted, they were already kind of required to do that before, so it's kind of just like, all right, well, what weight does this actually carry other than just being another thing that's been stacked on top of the thing already? So that's kind of, how effective is a civil contempt order? I don't know. I guess it's just another way of exerting pressure on like a civil defendant or something like that. However, criminal contempt can carry fines and punishment. So yes, there can be some weight to criminal contempt, which is to say that you technically could be doing time, and that time could stack, and you could be,
So, for example, if I'm an asshole to the judge and he says, file one contempt towards me, that could be, if I was found guilty, my contempt in court could stack time that I am imprisoned because I was contempt in court. Yes.
That's pretty much it. So basically, again, it's something that comes up pretty frequently in this film. So I thought maybe I'd flag it at the top just for anyone. I mean, maybe it's something that's pretty apparent from the context of the film itself, but criminal contempt is well, I guess any kind of contempt of court. It's kind of a weird thing, just a mechanism for the court to just, throw their weight around.
Being a dick.
Right. Yeah, basically. Obviously, courtroom is designed around the order and functionality and procedure and all that good stuff, but sometimes things don't play out exactly. Judges want them to, as is evidenced by this film. So I think I'll leave it at that and say that that's what I'll say is my fun fact, and I think maybe we'll pick up the thread of true story, what happened, what didn't happen, contempt of court, how does that tie into this movie? Maybe those are all kind of lingering threads that we'll kind of address again when we start talking about the movie in a little while. Because first we have some news to talk about. I know that I kind of said that I had split the news last time so that there was some stuff that I wanted to talk about on the last episode that had already kind of happened, but we just didn't want to be there all night, and so we elected to kind of push it to the next episode. So the consequence is that we still have a lot of news on this episode, and it's kind of still playing catch up in a certain sort of way. However, the first piece of news that I did want to talk about is something that actually broke yesterday, day before when we recorded, and I kind of feel like it's, everything else is pretty standard film, TV news, trailers, etc. I did want to talk about Jeff Bridges, who on Twitter, Jeff Bridges, the great actor, on Twitter, unfortunately made the announcement that he's been diagnosed with lymphoma, which is obviously an incredibly heavy diagnosis to receive. But he did say, quote unquote, although it is a serious disease, I feel fortunate that I have a great team of doctors and the prognosis is good. I'm starting treatment and will keep you posted on my recovery. So, hopefully everything goes well. Obviously, well wishes to Jeff Bridges. Hopefully beating cancer and getting well and continuing to knock our socks off with some excellent performances to build on his already illustrious career. For example, I will hold the dude in camera just to point to one example of Jeff Bridges being fucking awesome. But yes, sorry.
Jeff Bridges is fucking awesome. And someone else that is incredibly awesome that was diagnosed with lymphoma was Sarah's grandmother.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And she was diagnosed last year with lymphoma. She's been undergoing chemo, and I don't think I talked about it last week, or it would have been maybe last week or the week before. I can't quite remember, but she actually she beat that shit, dude.
Yeah, I think I saw a post on maybe Facebook.
Yeah,
saying as much.
Oh man, yeah. She. Sorry. Oh my God, my phones are ringing. My mother is calling me. I apologize. But yes, Sarah's grandmother did beat lymphoma. She's in remission, and they continue to do tests and everything else, and I think she has a couple of chemo treatments on top of that. But the shit can be beat, and I certainly hope Jeff Bridges gets the treatment and everything else that he needs in order to beat it. And like I say, if Sarah's grandmother can beat it, Jeff Bridges can certainly beat it. So there is hope.
There's hope, absolutely.
Sometimes you read these things, these big diagnoses and stuff, but there is hope there. So, good luck, sir. I know that I'm speaking directly to Jeff Bridges because I know he's an avid listener of our podcast.
Absolutely, of course he is.
Good luck, and if you need anything from Colton and I, we're certainly here. And here's to a speedy recovery. And here I'll take a sip of wine for Jeff Bridges.
I'll take a sip of beer. And there we have it. So yes, get well, Jeff Bridges. You got this. You got this. And he's probably got, the best doctors really you could really ask for. So
yes, he is Jeff Bridges. I think
that probably won't hurt.
He's got a pretty good chance.
Yeah. So anyway, obviously not to minimize anything, but certainly I think that's gonna give him a fighting chance. Absolutely. So yes. Well wishes. We hope he gets well. All right. So moving on into kind of like I said, more standard fare. We will pick up with something that we actually did briefly talk about last episode, and that is the Amazon original television show called The Expanse, which is returning for a 5th season this December, just a couple months time, actually a little bit less than a couple months time from recording. Official trailer for season 5. I think you hemmed and hawed about whether you had watched season 4. I did watch this trailer.
I did in fact watch season 4.
Okay.
I went back to Amazon after the episode.
Yeah, okay.
I know I watched this shit. Why would I not watch this shit? And I went back and I definitely watched the shit.
I figured as much, but
Sci-Fi fucked up. Sci-Fi fucked up and getting rid of this.
Letting go. Yeah.
This looks like a very interesting season. I couldn't be more excited to see it.
Maybe it's one of those things in a roundabout way. It kind of worked out. Amazon's probably pumping more money and marketing materials into this. So, maybe it's coming out stronger for having that brief period of cancellation. Obviously, it was very disappointing in the moment, and no one really expected Amazon to just say, Jeff Bezos likes this shit. Let's do it. Let's do more of this thing. But yeah, I know it's great that obviously we have another season to look forward to. You liked season 4, I presume? No questions on that front, I don't think.
Oh no, season 4 was incredible. Now, I had to go back and I had to read what I watched. You know what I mean? Because it all kind of blends together. But
sure.
Yeah, season 4 was incredible. Did you watch it?
Nope. I'm a full 2 seasons behind on The Expanse, which is wild because I loved the first 2 seasons.
You started me on that stuff.
Yeah, I think what happened, I've probably talked about this, but it's probably been a while to be fair. I think I tried to read the 3rd book before I went back to the 3rd season of the show, and I never finished the 3rd book, so I never went back and started the 3rd season of the show. I think at this point, I just owe it to myself to just watch the show. You know what I mean? Get caught up, and kind of watch this. Because I did watch the season 5 trailer, and I was kind of like, maybe I shouldn't do it. I mean, I know some things about what happens in the books, and so I kind of figured, it's probably not going to spoil that much that I don't already know. And yeah, I mean, there's a couple things that obviously I haven't seen them play out through season 4, but nothing too shocking I didn't find from this trailer. So it reinforced my desire to go back and watch it because it looks great. I love just the setting of it, and then the characters are awesome. So it's just something I know I need to go back to. I really do owe it to myself to get caught up on this. One thing that will help on that front, Amazon is doing the same release date model that they did with The Boys. So you're going to get 3 up front in December, and then weekly releases from that from that
there
point.
You go.
So it's a little bit more time for me to watch, and it's more time for everyone else to wait and get pissed about that because they don't want to wait and they want to watch it all at once, which is understandable, but that's how it goes
good
sometimes.
For you.
So December 16th is when those first 3 episodes are going to drop. So like I said, just less than a couple of months away. So The Expanse Season 5, all 4 seasons are on Amazon in 4K if you have 4K TV. So get caught up on it that way. You don't have to watch the horrific sci-fi broadcast like we used to do, once upon a time.
Bad.
So you, our listeners should definitely be jumping on The Expanse because it's great. I can vouch for 2 seasons. Andrew can vouch for 4 seasons, but we can collectively say it's great. So there you have it. Another trailer is something also coming to Amazon next year, I believe. I think 2021 for this one. It's an animated television show called Invincible, based off of a comic book series of the same name from the creator of The Walking Dead, from the comic book creator of The Walking Dead, Robert Kirkman as well. Kind of an adult superhero show, sort of, I guess, maybe in the vein of The Boys. I mean, it's a little bit different, I think, in terms of what it's about, but I think that the trailer alone kind of gives the impression that there's going to be some violence, and I kind of scrolled through the YouTube comments, and I kind of was like, oh, you thought The Boys was bad? Well, you haven't seen anything yet, kind of was the impression that I got from the comments there. So what did you think about this teaser trailer that we got for Invincible?
I thought that dude's dad looked like Reed Richards.
Yeah, he does look like Reed Richards. Alternatively, he looks like J. Jonah Jameson, which he is voiced by J.K. Simmons, so that might be just part of that.
Okay. Other than that, I mean, we'll see what happens with it. I mean, it looked like it had Martian Manhunter in it. I don't know what that was about.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is all standalone, like not connected to any major comic book universes, but obviously probably taking inspirations from characters and power sets and stuff like that. So
yeah, it looks like you got a Superman and a Superboy, or Superman and right. Something of that nature.
Right.
Like I said, the that girl that transforms at the end of the trailer kind of looks. I thought it looked kind of like Martian Manhunter ish. Mm-hmm. But I don't know. We'll see what happens with it. I mean,
yeah. I mean, it's pretty brief, about a minute here. I feel like we didn't really get enough of a sense of kind of what it is. But I've heard the animation style is pretty close to how it's drawn in the comics, and people are happy about that. I mean, the impression I get is the people that like the comics are thinking, oh, this is great. This looks like what I want this to be.
Well, that's good.
I feel like that bodes well, if nothing else, is to say that, hey, maybe it's a faithful adaptation. And so if the source material is good, then theoretically this is going to be good as well. So yeah, I think maybe we'll, once we get a fuller trailer, we'll probably be a little bit better. We'll be able to get a little better grasp on kind of what it's going to be or what it's going to be like. But color me intrigued, I guess, at this point. So coming to Prime, Amazon Prime 2021. So there you have it. All right. Now we have our first piece of news up next, which is a Green Lantern series coming to HBO Max. Are you excited about this?
Oh, I could be. Green Lantern's pretty fucking cool.
Ryan Reynolds is back in the saddle. No, he's not. He's not coming back at all. Sorry.
Yeah, so Green Lantern's a pretty fucking cool character. I mean, there's nothing inherently wrong with Green Lantern. I think he's actually a really interesting character. We just have yet to see a good iteration of the Green Lantern, which is unfortunate because I think he's pretty prominent.
Yeah, certainly in live action.
Yeah.
Nothing. They're coming up empty so far on the live action front.
So I don't know. Do we know if this is live action or is this animated?
This is live action, and honestly, it sounds kind of fucking wild in terms of like the scope of what it's supposed to be, because it's not about one Green Lantern. I mean, it's about the Green Lantern Corps. Granted, obviously, the Green Lantern movie we got also involved the Green Lantern Corps, but it really was just a movie about Hal Jordan, origins, becoming Green Lantern, blah, blah, blah. Standard fare kind of superhero stuff, except it was really bad. It was just a really bad version of that. This one is going to focus on, quote-unquote, the adventures of a multitude of lanterns, which include Guy Gardner, Jessica Cruz, Simon Baz, and Alan Scott, who is Earth's first Green Lantern and also has kind of a different origins for his powers, so I'm not really sure how they're going to play with that. But it also include fan favorites like Sinestro, who was
the bad
originally
guy.
Green Lantern turned bad guy, Yellow Lantern, and Kilowog, who was a Green Lantern, who was voiced by, rest in peace, Michael Clark Duncan in that 2011 Ryan Reynolds film. So notably absent is Hal Jordan. There is no Hal Jordan that is apparently going to be in this show. Maybe they're reserving him for a movie, for whatever the hell they're doing in their DC universe of whatnot. Maybe this has nothing to do with, what it is they're doing. Like, this is just totally separate. Who knows? I really don't know. But they're committed to it. They've ordered it to series, 10 one-hour episodes, live action. It's going to be co-written and executive produced by Seth Grahame-Smith and Mark Guggenheim.
Guggenheim.
Guggenheim. Yeah, Graham Smith worked on stuff like the Lego Batman movie, Dark Shadows, and he also wrote the books Abraham Lincoln, Vampire Hunter, and Pride and Prejudice and Zombies. He wrote the books, not the movies that those were.
I've heard of those
turned
books.
Into. And then Guggenheim is no stranger to DC properties. He was the main showrunner on Arrow for most of its run, and worked on, I think maybe still works on Legends of Tomorrow as well. And he co-wrote the 2011 Green Lantern film with Ryan Reynolds. So that's clearly a good sign. So yeah, I mean that's more or less it on that front. I mean, this is joining the John Cena Peacemaker spinoff. We're getting a Gotham PD spinoff or tie-in series with the Batman. So more DC stuff for HBO Max. But I think this one sounds like the most adventurous and kind of the most bold and
sounds like HBO is building a portfolio of original content, which is pretty cool.
Well, that's definitely true. Yeah. So this is something else, to I feel like HBO alone without the Max part of it has a lot of value anyway. And I feel like all the Max stuff is just kind of like the icing on the cake in a sort of way. So yeah, I mean, hopefully this obviously turns out to be good, but I'm curious about it regardless, certainly. So yeah. Any other thoughts? Green Lantern series?
No. We'll see what happens, as I normally say.
Yeah, we will. Okay, next trailer is for another TV show. This one, I swear, there's a bunch of stuff on this episode. It's all coming in December. Like nothing's coming out in November for some reason. Like November is just dead season. But something that will start streaming on CBS All Access on December 17th is a new limited event series based off of the best-selling Stephen King novel, The Stand, starring James Marsden, Alexander Skarsgård,
Matthew
Whoopi
McConaughey.
Goldberg. Well, he's not in this one, but we'll miss him. We'll miss him from his
Idris
grand
Elba
performance in the Dark Tower. Yeah. So yeah, a little Stephen King TV show. Not the first one, obviously, that we've gotten. In fact, not the first adaptation of The Stand that we've ever gotten, but first one in a while. How'd you feel about this trailer?
So I don't know anything about The Stand. I know my dad's cousin is a huge Stand and Dark Tower super fan. I think she also thought the movie was shit. Or Dark Tower was shit.
That was a common sentiment, I believe. Yeah.
So I'm next time I see her, I'm interested to pick her brain about the trailer. Whoopi Goldberg looked and sounded pretty compelling in this trailer. Also, Sonic's friend.
James Marsden. Cyclops.
Yeah, Cyclops.
Let's call him Cyclops.
He's in it. He looks pretty good. He looks pretty compelling. It's cool to see him doing stuff. And I don't know. I think it could be interesting. The imagery looked a lot. It looked very reminiscent of a show, American Gods, especially with like the dream sequences and stuff. And I think that looks really cool. I was a huge fan of the way that they shot a lot of different things in that show, American Gods. So, I don't know. It looks like it could scratch an itch. I don't have CBS All Access, so I'll have to get onto that front. But depending on how it reviews, it could be definitely something I could be interested in.
Yeah, I agree. Also, someone with no familiarity with the source material, so it's hard for me to obviously say if this looks accurate as an adaptation or anything like that. But purely in terms of just kind of what I can, detect from the project, it seems pretty well put together. I do like the imagery. I like the cast a lot, and I'm assuming that if it is indeed close to the source material, that the novel's good shit. Stephen King is usually pretty good with his novels, so it feels like something that could definitely be really interesting and really compelling. So we'll have to figure out CBS All Access at some point if we're going to sit down and watch this thing. But limited event series also makes me kind of feel better about it. Like,
true.
There's a beginning, middle, and an end maybe kind of, to it. So I feel like that should help. So yeah. Yeah, I don't really have much else to offer. I feel like you kind of hit the hammer on the nail. So this starts streaming Thursday, December 17th. I'm actually not sure how they're doing the release of this, but I'm going to guess it's a weekly thing. I feel like that's how CBS rolls with their stuff. But I may be wrong on that front, so don't hold me to it. But
at least we can catch up on Twilight Zone. We can make a.
That's true.
I never got into the Twilight Zone, even though I really wanted to. So
yeah.
I don't know. It might be a good time to hop onto the CBS shit. I don't know.
Yeah,
Star
I think
Trek
there's enough
stuff,
of a backlog there.
Star Trek stuff never really. I don't know. It didn't really pique me, but this piques me, and Twilight Zone piques me. I don't know if piques me is a thing that people say, but I'm saying it piques me. I like things that piques me.
Well, we'll see if it piques you real good in December, perhaps.
Speaking of things that piques me real good, this Promising Young Woman trailer was piquing me pretty good.
Very, very, very nice segue. Very, very good. Yeah, a film allegedly coming to theaters this Christmas. Another December release, as I said. Everything's December for some reason. Promising Young Woman, starring Carey Mulligan. What's she up to? Not really sure. Some weird things are happening. It's according to the trailer going to be very topical and take a mirror to society or something like that. But what was it about this trailer that piqued you?
This piqued me for a couple different reasons. You have I think that one of the funniest things was you got the guy from Superbad in it.
Yeah, McLovin.
Yeah, McLovin. You got McLovin in there. He's just a scumbag apparently, which is pretty funny. But I don't know. It's just it looks like a really interesting take on I don't know, topical issues about apparently the main character was or her sister or someone she knows or maybe her, I don't know, but apparently she was done wrong by a dude and taken advantage of, and she's exacting revenge on man, and I don't know. It could be. I don't know. It looks really. I've never seen a movie like this before. You know, it looks like it's a pretty interesting take on things.
Yeah.
So we'll see where that goes. It's also got the chick from James Bond. What's her name? Or not James Bond? Austin Powers, not James Bond.
It's got Austin Powers.
Yeah, it's got the blonde girl from Austin Powers in it too, and I haven't seen her in anything in a long time. So, you know which one I'm talking about? Austin Powers 2, The Spy Who Shagged Me. Is it Heather Graham? Is that her name?
Oh, yeah. I thought she was in the other trailer. Wasn't she in the other trailer?
Maybe she was in the other trailer. I'm not sure. Maybe I watch the wrong trailer?
I thought she was in the Stand trailer, but I could be wrong about that. I did see her at some point in one of the trailers that we're talking about.
I tried to blitz through these trailers to be fair to the listeners. Yeah. I blitzed through the trailers to try to get these. I had to be up early in the morning, so I try to watch them as quickly in quick succession. So they might be blending together. My mind doesn't separate things well.
She was in the trailer for The Stand, which you watched just before this. So you kind of conflated. Well, them. Then that's a thing
for The Stand. It's got Heather Graham in it, and that's cool.
Yep.
So yeah. Anyways, Promising Young Woman looks pretty interesting. I'm interested to see what happens with that movie.
I am as well.
I don't think I'll see it on Christmas, though.
Probably not going to see it on Christmas. Doesn't really feel like a Christmas film for me, but certainly something to see at some point in the future. Good reviews. I think this is at a Sundance screening, in January, 16 years ago, January 2020, if you recall such a time. Sitting at 91% from 47 reviews. So boldly provocative, timely thriller. Etc. So yeah, I mean, seems promising, you might say. So we look forward to seeing it whenever we get a chance to see it. All right, next piece of news I think is pretty exciting, if I do say so myself. We're getting some more Mad Max stuff, which is to say that we're not getting a Mad Max sequel, but we're getting a Mad Max Fury Road prequel, which will be centered around Charlize Theron's character, Furiosa. Mad Max Fury Road is perhaps one of, if not the best action film of all time. Certainly in the conversation.
Incredible. Yes.
I mean, in recent memory, it's probably the best one. You know, it's an incredible film bolstered by, I mean, really, I think Charlize Theron's Furiosa is kind of the heart and soul of that movie, in the sense that Mad Max is kind of just a passenger in his own movie. I guess passenger is somewhat punny, you know, cars and gasoline and blah, blah, blah. You guys get it.
Chrome. Anyways.
Chrome, yes. Immortan Joe. Do not become addicted to the water.
What an incredible fucking movie. Holy shit.
I actually just ordered, there's the Mad Max High Octane collection, which includes all of the films, and it includes the 4K version of Fury Road, and it also includes the shiny and chrome black and white version, which I've never seen of it. So should be arriving shortly. So I want to rewatch that soon because it's been too long. But anyway, George Miller, director of all of the Mad Maxes, including Fury Road, is back to do a prequel about Furiosa.
Fuck yeah, dude.
Which sounds awesome. However, one caveat of this is that due to the nature of it being a prequel, and presumably a prequel that is set well before the events of Fury Road, Charlize Theron is not involved in this project. So taking up the role of Furiosa is Anya-Taylor Joy from Split, Glass, The New Mutants, and probably some other credits that she'd like to claim before she claimed that one, but just popped in my head. I'm so sorry. And it will also bring into the fold Chris Hemsworth, the great Chris Hemsworth, and Yahya Abdul-Mateen II, who is everywhere. And of course, he is in the Trial of the Chicago 7. But he's also Cal in the Watchmen HBO series, Black Manta and Aquaman. So he was in Black Mirror, I think. I think he was in the Mackie episode, the Anthony Mackie episode, which I think we also referenced on the last episode too. So yeah, he's obviously putting in some work, and so those are kind of the three that are going to lead the charge for this Furiosa prequel.
And those three are going to be working their ass off if they're working with George Miller.
Yeah.
That dude puts his people through some shit. That's for sure.
Yeah, Fury Road its production is just honestly an insane story, and so. I mean, Fury Road was gestating for like 20 years, I feel like.
Yeah.
Like, literally, in terms of like, inception of the project to actually like getting the damn thing out in cinemas. This one will hopefully have a shorter turnaround time, but it'll be certainly curious to see kind of the angle I think he takes in terms of the storyline and what that entails. But I gotta say, I trust George Miller fully 100%. Like, I stand behind whatever he's gonna put out. I think if he's got a vision for this, then it's going to be a fucking awesome vision. Like
did he do the three original Mad Maxes as well?
He did, yes.
Yeah, dude obviously has a fucking vision for Mad Max. I mean, it has been his baby since the beginning, since old Mel Gibson was running around in his car. So yeah, fuck yeah, man. I'm excited about that. That's really exciting.
Yeah. Fun fact. George Miller also directed. Oh, he didn't direct this one, but he directed. He wrote Babe, but he wrote and directed its sequel, Babe, Pig in the City. So he's got quite the diverse filmography.
I think he did Happy Feet too, didn't he?
He did do Happy Feet as well,
which was incredible.
Yeah. So
good for you, George.
Dude. Very much so. All right, what's on tap next?
I tell you what's on top next. Speaking of deserts and strong womanly roles and fucking dinosaurs, Monster Hunter is on tap with Mila Jovovich as in small text just above the title of the fucking movie.
Yeah,
if that doesn't get you pumped, I don't know what will.
She's such a massive star that she commands her name being atop the logo. Yep, Paul W.S. Anderson is back to ruin another video game franchise. I think that's the gist here.
Woo, this one looks like a doozy.
I tried to spare you from this last week. I think I said as much, and this like there was like a teaser for a trailer that came out last week, which was like 30 seconds. I'm like, fuck it, we're not going to talk about that. But then the full trailer came out. I'm like, we should probably talk about it at some point. Let's just get it out of the way.
Man, this movie.
This looks fucking horrendous.
This looks. I saw some people repost it online. They said, "This, I want more of this." Like, what do you want more of? What the fuck?
Those are people that have been sorely deprived of theater experiences and are lashing out at society, saying,
"Oh my god,
they can't discern between good and bad anymore. They just don't fundamentally understand what movies are supposed to be like because they haven't seen one in a theater for so long."
This is like a mix between. I thought Transformers there for a while.
Definitely Transformers. The military vibe is pure Transformers for sure.
Then you have the one-liners, which made me think of the one-liners are of the same quality of, this is Katana, she's got my back.
Suicide Squad for sure.
Suicide Squad one-liners.
Yep. Agreed.
It's like a greatest hits of shit.
Of dog shit, yeah. And throw in some Resident Evil in there just for good measure because it's Paul W.S. Anderson, the bad Paul Anderson.
Man.
So he's here to just torture us again for who keeps giving this guy a budget to like work like what?
He is the Yui Bowl of the modern day. He's modern day Yui Bowl.
You know, I was like, you know, who would do such a thing? And I just looked down at the YouTube page. Sony Pictures Entertainment. Yeah, that makes sense. Everything checks out here. Fucking idiots.
Man. And they can't be cheap. The dinosaurs look pretty convincing.
Do you think he has blackmail? Do you think he's got blackmail on some Sony execs? Is that what's going on here?
He's got dirt
pics?
on him.
Well, like, what's he got? What's he got here?
Give me money. I'm going to make a movie or I'm going to release this.
I mean, like, it's like, fine. You know, Mila Jovovich basically just appears in his movies because I think they're still married. And it's like, fine, he's casting his wife in all of the lead roles of his movies because...
Of course.
Why would we waste time casting someone with actual talent when we can just cast his wife and get her a few $1 million that they can bring back into their household too? I mean, that's a great scheme. It's a great business scheme. I'm not going to argue with it. If he's going to swindle people out of money, he might as well do it as a whole family joint. You know what I mean?
That's it.
But yeah, the monsters themselves, sure. I mean, the CG looks fine for the most part, but just the costume design looks real dumb, real bad. You know, like why do we got to throw the real U.S. military into a Monster Hunter setting? Like, why are you doing this? Like, I mean, fine, you want to make the Monster Hunter movie, but like,
well, they have to.
Why would you do it this way?
She has those swords that she puts together when they turn on fire.
I mean, I think I don't really... We could spend all night on this, to be honest, but I think my final thought, if nothing else, will be to quote Kara Pappas from the YouTube comments, my favorite section of YouTube. Quote unquote, there's a quote from the trailer, "I don't care what those creatures are. We know, movie. We know." Yeah.
So that's Monster Hunter. We'll be looking forward to that. When's that coming out? Christmas?
It's another December one. I don't know if it's Christmas itself, but it's another December one, that's for sure. I mean, that's definitely what I'm risking my life for to see. If my happy ass is marching into a theater to see any movie, you bet your happy ass it's going to be Monster Hunter. Because
starring Mila Jovovich.
Oh God, we got to move on. I can't do it anymore. Showtime can't let things lie, and for some reason they're bringing back Dexter. TV show Dexter, Michael C. Hall, back as Dexter. Did you ever watch Dexter?
Never watched any Dexter.
Okay.
I heard, I think somebody, I can't remember who it was, they were talking about watching it, and I told them that I had never seen it, but I know that you had, and if I remember right, you said that there were huge ebbs and flows in Dexter. Is that right?
So I have an interesting experience with Dexter in the sense that I have watched exactly half of Dexter. I watched the first 4 seasons of a total 8. and I think I had finished season 4 basically as it aired, and then season 5 came back, and I didn't get around to it, and then season 6 came around, and I just didn't get around to it, and eventually got to the point where I was just like, I'll just wait till it's done, and then maybe I'll kind of run through it. But I think what happened is, yes, there were. I think I heard about the ebbs and flows, which kind of prevented me from having any desire to move on and go back to it. I can't remember exactly which seasons were supposed to be bad, but there are, I think, at least 2 of the final 4 seasons were just apparently horrendous, and I think the finale itself is kind of always in the conversation of worst series finales of all time. Like, people just widely regard the Dexter finale as just some of the dumbest shit they've ever seen in their lives.
Fun fact, though, Dade City's actually referenced in where I am residing right now is referenced in Dexter at some point.
How about that? So, yeah, I mean, I kind of have a weird relationship with Dexter in the sense that, like, when people, hey, after the 8 seasons had concluded, it's saying, hey, if you're going to watch it, like, just bail out at season 4 because that's as good as it's going to get. And so that's kind of what I did. And I'm like, well, I'm never going to go back then. That said, I mean, I don't know that I'm still ever going to go back. I'm not sure that 10 more episodes is going to compel me to do so, but maybe it's another, maybe it's one of those things where, hey, we're throwing a bone to those people that felt really spurned by the shitty ending, and so here's the real ending or something like that. I think the showrunner, I think what happened with Dexter, I think this will explain a lot, and will probably make sense in retrospect. I think the showrunner, Clyde Phillips, was there for the first 4 seasons at least, maybe 5th or 6th, I can't remember, but he left at a certain point. I think it might have turned over to someone else for another season, but I'm pretty sure, if nothing else, the final season was handled by one Scott Buck, who you may know as the showrunner of Marvel's Iron Fist and Marvel's Inhumans, which is all you need to know about the quality of that final season of Dexter without ever even thinking about watching it.
Denny, I've got you cinnamon wheat ice cream. It's fucking cinnamon wheat ice cream. God damn it. It gets me going every time. Scott Buck and his genius. Fuck.
So yeah, I think, like I said, I think enough said in terms of how Dexter ended, because of course it ended poorly under Scott. I like to fuck Buck. I'm sorry, I said his nickname wrong. Scott, I like to fuck up television shows, Buck.
Oh shit!
But yeah,
I got a tear in my eye.
So anyway, yeah, Showtime's bringing back Dexter for another 10 episodes, 2021, fall 2021 is when it's expected to come back. So, I mean, I imagine this is probably exciting for people that watch Dexter to the end and has absolutely no bearing on anyone's lives that did not watch Dexter. So yeah.
And his premise was he was a CIA guy or an investigator that killed criminals, right? Or something like that?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's kind of the general thing. I think he was a forensic analyst or something for maybe the police. I think maybe just the police department. I don't think it was CIA. But yeah, he had like a traumatic event that he experienced as a child, and he had like this dark part of him. They called it something in the show. I can't remember off the top of my head, but yeah, this dark.
He was
thing,
a serial killer that killed serial killers.
Yeah, he had these urges basically to kill, and because he had a moral compass, he would channel them towards people that he deemed were worthy of being killed. So bad guys, criminals, that sort of thing. Well, also he was obviously a criminal himself, to be fair, but he was a good criminal or something like that. So yeah, he was a good serial killer. Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
I think that these two shows existed at the same time. What was the deal with Nip Tuck? I remember watching that.
Nip Tuck was about 2 plastic surgeons who were both assholes in their own ways. There was the family man who was an asshole towards his family, and then there was Dr. Doom, who was just an asshole to everyone. And all the shenanigans they got up to. I think Dr. Doom was a womanizer. He liked to sleep with patients and whatnot. And yeah, it was basically just kind of it was a soap more or less with a higher budget. And then at one point there was a serial killer storyline that got.
I think that's what I remember.
All that. So yeah, I think the 3rd season was The Carver. who's
That's
a serial
what
killer.
it was. I remember it. Yes. Okay.
Yeah, which I loved Nip Tuck back in the day. I'm not going to lie. I mean, it was some trashy shit, but I liked it. And then it got to the point where I'm like, oh no, this is actually horrendous. Wait, was this always bad, or am I just older now? Like, or, am I, like, am I older now and I'm realizing this is always bad, or is it actually just bad now? Like, that's kind of how that show's trajectory was. Perhaps it was similar to Dexter's. I never finished Nip Tuck either, so yeah, pretty similar. All right, shall we move along?
Yes.
All right.
To something that actually
looks good.
Yeah. It looks good, dude.
Yeah, it does.
We talked about it last week. Soul, Disney and Pixar's Soul, coming to Disney Plus on Christmas.
Disney Plus on Christmas, yeah.
And I think I was pretty hip on this when we got the first trailer. Mm-hmm. I'm definitely hip on it now, and it's definitely going to make me cry because
it's Pixar. It's coming.
I got the vibes. Like if the trailer was like 2 minutes longer, I probably would have shed a tear. Like, it's just so sweet. It just sounds like such a sweet movie. Mm-hmm. Oh, I'm really excited about this one.
I think this looks great. I mean, I'm ecstatic that we're going to be able to see this at home on Christmas and not have to wait for them to bump this to whenever theaters are around again. I'm really excited about that particular thing, but I do think it looks just legitimately great. I love the animation style in this, particularly more the real world setting versus the Soul setting. I think even the Soul setting looks better than it did in the last trailer because we probably got more of a sense of it this time. I think last time it was basically just them in a black background. I was like, what's the design going to look like? But I think here we see more of it, and I think it looks really great. I think it's Jamie Foxx that's doing the voice of the main character, and I think he's going to be really good. I felt like the humor in this one, I mean, obviously, I think we know that there's going to be emotional resonance. I think we can just feel that. And I feel like, like a music, I think it's like a jazz kind of based. Like, I just feel like it's going to have, pardon me, some soul to it. I mean, legitimately, though.
But I tonight.
Yeah. But I do think that the humor here worked much better than it did on the last trailer, and it just feels like all the elements are just kind of right. They're all in the right places. Like they're gonna press the right buttons for sure.
In typical Pixar fashion.
In typical Pixar fashion, yeah. I liked the pizza getting pooped out bit. I thought yeah, this was pretty funny. I thought.
I just thought it was so sweet. The where he escapes the the stairway to heaven. And falls into the they call it something with the time before or something like that.
Yeah, pre something. Yeah, I don't know. I don't remember what they called it, but the great before.
It's where
that's what it's called.
The great before. Yeah, where babies develop their personalities and shit. Mm-hmm. And I think it's apparent that he's going to have an influence on some sort of younger generation coming before him. And I think that's I can really get a feel of how this is going to start pulling heartstrings and stuff. Like, it's just, I think it's going to be an incredible movie. I'm real excited about it. So
yeah, and it's probably no surprise. This is directed by Pete Docter, whose previous works include Inside Out and Up, which are two whoppers of Pixar films. So,
Doctor,
yeah. The doctor is in, and he's ready. He's ready to fuck up our lives on Christmas, or at least around Christmas, over Christmas break, whenever we get a chance to watch it on Disney Plus. So, definitely one we're going to be covering. I think we can go ahead and pencil that in. We're gonna write it in pen. Fuck pencil. We don't need no erasers around here. Got whiteout if we need it, but we'll use pen. We're confident. All right, just a few more pieces of news. Actually, a couple Star Wars pieces of news before we get to our last one, which is another one that's going to take a little bit of an emotional toll, I think. So there's a Lego Star Wars holiday special that's coming out, and I'm going to guess December. No, it's in November. Yes, we got a November date. We did it. Yeah, Lego Star Wars holiday special is streaming November 17th on Disney Plus. This has actually been previously announced. I completely missed it. I don't know if you knew this existed.
No.
Yeah, this was news to me. It's obviously a Lego thing. It's not like a mainline thing, but The recent news, why I'm bringing it up now, is that they announced kind of some of the voice actors that are joining the party, and they include Anthony Daniels as C-3PO, Kelly Marie Tran as Rose Tico, and Billy D. Williams as Lando Calrissian.
Kelly Marie Tran is picking up another Star Wars role?
Yeah, she's going to have at least... She's probably going to have more lines of dialogue in this than she will have she had in The Rise of Skywalker, which is to say, if she has two, then she's surpassed it. And,
what a missed opportunity there. They really, that was a big misstep.
Yeah, I've been meaning to watch The Rise of Skywalker again. I don't think I've seen it since theaters, but it's like, can I do something else with that 2.5 hours of time? That's probably a better use of time, right? Like I could read for class or something like that. Like,
yeah,
it's a bummer. I didn't hate it, but it's still a bummer.
It could have been so much more, right? But this could be so much. This could be incredible.
Fun. Lego styled humor, Star Wars holiday special. They're going to be having some fun with it.
Who's doing it?
I don't really know exactly what the team behind it is. I know I feel like there are like Lego shorts that they've kind of done. Like there's like the Freemaker Adventures or whatever it is. But maybe it's this kind of the same folks that are involved in that are involved in this. I really don't know. All I really know, besides the people that I just mentioned, is that it's including a lot of the voice actors from the Clone Wars, like Matt Lanter as Anakin, Tom Kane as Yoda, James Arnold Taylor as Obi-Wan, and D. Bradley Baker, who did all the Clone Trooper voices. So, it's probably, kind of this weird send-up of the holiday special with prequels, sequels, whatever, just
it's all
complete nonsense, kind of fun. So I'm hopeful that it'll be entertaining, if nothing else. And I don't know what else we're fucking watching in November. So I, at least for that reason alone, we're looking forward to it, right?
I can tell you what we're going to be watching in fucking November, dude.
What is it?
We're going to start watching The Mandalorian.
Wow,
October 30th, but through November.
And
correct.
Then through probably December, because again, all things must happen in December. That's right, and we did get a special look at The Mandalorian, about a minute long thing. It aired. It aired during some sort. I think it aired during Monday Night Football. I was like, I don't know, some sort of sports thing. What sports are happening right now? Yeah, it aired during Monday Football, I think. So, a lot of the same footage that we saw in the first teaser trailer, and this is literally 10 days away from its premiere. But we did get some new stuff in there, and I assume it's new stuff that is getting you hype for a new season.
Yeah, well, no, I mean, yeah, dude. You got I think the X-Wings going through the clouds chasing the Mando ship was in the previous trailer. Mm-hmm. But that's still fucking cool. And then you have, it was really cool. So in the original trailer, Baby Yoda closes his bassinet when the Mando's at the bar. But now you get a different perspective on that, and you can see the singing birds or whatever they are hit the different people.
Right. Yeah, with the little cradle closed. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's cool. Yeah, dude. Yeah, man. Star Wars. We're 10 days away from Mando season 2.
And this is the thing where it's like, yeah, The Rise of Skywalker is a bummer, but fuck it, we got The Mandalorian to look forward to, Like,
and that's,
we got good Star Wars.
I was thinking about that. Last year. I was thinking about that. I have to say that I don't know, I was pretty excited about The Rise of Skywalker. But, man, this Mando entry into the Star Wars franchise is just absolutely incredible. Like, I couldn't be more hyped about, this is good Star Wars. And it doesn't really have any, I mean, it's got no Jedi, it's just in Star Wars. In a lot of ways, it feels more like Star Wars than some of the other stuff has. So it's, I can't give it enough praise. I'm real excited about it.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I really, I feel the same way. This is, I mean, obviously for the foreseeable future, Star Wars is kind of on Disney Plus, but I'm content to see seasons upon seasons of Mandalorian if Johnny V is up to the task, certainly. So, I think it's great. The jetpack shot at the end was sick. I don't know if we got that last trailer. So
there was a lot of talk about the main dude, Justin Timberlake.
Pedro Pascal.
Yes. Did you hear about all this? Like he quit or something?
Yeah, it's all a lot of tabloid shit. There's no truth.
Okay? No truth to any of it. Okay,
it's
Facebook shit is what it is.
The clickbait shit that circulates on Facebook because
we're not going to talk about it here. We won't give it any. We won't give it any.
I saw a headline for it once upon a time. I'm like, okay, that's weird, and then I looked into it. I'm like, oh, okay, this is nothing. So yeah.
All right, we won't talk about that then. But what we can talk about is Ma Rainey's Black Bottom.
Yes, last piece of news for today's episode. It's an official trailer for a Netflix film heading to Netflix December 18th, and it marks the final film performance of the great Chadwick Boseman. And so we got a trailer for it, which features a lot of Chadwick. It features a lot of Viola Davis, who is playing Ma Rainey, and is kind of the lead character in this. This is another music-based project, but taking place in a bygone era where, racial relations are not so great. Certainly worse than they are now, which isn't to say that they're great now, obviously, but there's a lot to unpack with this trailer. I mean, we I guess at the top, we still obviously have not recorded our Chadwick Boseman episode that we have talked about doing, and that is still on the cards. And that's something I think we're kind of working through some movies that he was a lead actor in, and so we can kind of get a chance to talk about his performance. I think if nothing else, we can certainly plan to have that out before this movie arrives, which gives us plenty of time, obviously, and then that way we can kind of hopefully enjoy his final performance in this film in December. Which I got to say, he looks great. I mean, he was obviously always great in every performance that he was ever in. He gave it his all, but I feel like, I don't know, something about this movie between Chadwick's role in it, his performance, and obviously just the nature of it kind of being his final film role. This looks really good, I think.
It does, yeah. Looks like a passionate movie. And it just looks like a Raw movie from the trailer. It takes place and just people pouring their heart out into music and stuff, and I don't know, it just looks really good. You can tell Chadwick lost a lot of weight. It looks like he does look. He doesn't look like the Black Panther in this movie,
right? Which if we were none the wiser, we could have just said he was pulling a Christian Bale and losing weight for a role. You know what I mean?
Correct. So. You never know. But yeah, it looks like an incredible movie. I'm excited to watch this one too. Got some good trailers in this news sequence. When's this one come out? I think you already said it.
It's on Netflix December 18th, so this is a week before Christmas.
All right. So we can definitely get Chadwick's episode out before then. So
for certainly, and I think this is another one that we'll plan to cover. I think that goes without saying.
Sure.
I mean, it does look legitimately very good. So I'm looking forward to the movie itself, and it just, like I said, just kind of takes on that extra level of attention because of
and it's produced by Denzel Washington
again time. Right.
Who got Denzel or who got Chadwick into film school or whatever, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Which that I mean, it's just another layer of cool shit, man. It's awesome to see this stuff play out like that. So
yeah. So Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, December 18th on Netflix. Looking forward to it, and you can look forward
based on a true story too. I think
maybe. Yeah, I actually don't know. I know it's based off a play. So maybe that was based off a true story as well. So I really don't know.
Yeah, Ma Rainey was actually a real professional blues singer.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go.
That's it.
There you go.
Heard it here
and there you have it. That is the news for this episode, which brings us back to the trial of the Chicago 7, also a Netflix film, although not originally. This was a late Netflix post-COVID-19 acquisition. But
who was going to put it out originally?
Well, you can actually, I mean, it was originally Paramount Pictures. I think it had like the DreamWorks logo or something in the beginning. I was just like, oh, that's odd. Like, why would Netflix and these guys pair up? And it was pretty clear it was like something that had been sold. So Paramount was originally supposed to distribute it theatrically. It was actually supposed to be out in September. So we're getting a little bit late, but we were getting it at all, and obviously that's great. So thanks Netflix for ponying up the millions for it. Appreciate you. The Trial of the Chicago 7. It was written and directed by Aaron Sorkin, who, as I mentioned at the top, was the creator, showrunner of The West Wing, but he's a very prolific, I think, writer more so than director. Particularly, wrote A Few Good Men, The Social Network, Moneyball.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
Just a badass, is what you're saying.
And then Molly's Game was his directorial debut a few years ago with Jessica Chastain.
I have it, never saw it.
Which he also wrote. It's good. It's not as good as some of his other stuff, but it's good. But yes, Aaron Sorkin, he's got a very particular style. You know, TV shows, The West Wing kind of has it. He worked on The Newsroom as well. I can't remember if he's done anything else. That's all I could think of off the top of my head.
He's busy, though, it sounds like. He's busy with good shit.
Prolific, writer, director, absolutely. And so this is a film that's been kind of long gestating. I think he wanted to do it in early 2000s, mid 2000s maybe. 2007, I'm seeing, actually. He wrote the screenplay. Spielberg was going to direct the film once upon a time, and that didn't happen. So, a decade later, in comes Sorkin to work on it himself.
That's it.
Exactly, he's doing it live. So yes, written and directed by Aaron Sorkin, with an ensemble cast, a great ensemble cast led by Yahya Abdul-Mateen II, Sacha Baron Cohen, Daniel Flaherty, Joseph Gordon-Levitt, Michael Keaton, Frank Langella, John Carroll Lynch, Eddie Redmayne, Noah Robbins, Mark Rylance, Alex Sharp, and Jeremy Strong. And this film tells the story of a group of anti-Vietnam War protesters who were charged with conspiracy and crossing state lines with the intention of inciting riots at the 1968 Democratic National Convention in Chicago. So, a lot to unpack with this film, certainly. You ready to hash it out non-spoiler wise?
Yeah, we can do it, dude.
All right, so tell me some of your thoughts. I mean, you were excited to talk about it.
So I will start off.
What was it about it that worked for you?
I'll start off with this. You try to. I go to work every day to make friends. You sell things, you make friends. That's how you do it.
Okay.
And you don't make friends by talking bad about particular politicians one way or the other, even though with the demographic in the area that we're at, that's largely what people want to talk about. Anywhere you go, that's largely what people want to talk about. I think, at least where I'm around. And so anyways, I have recommended this movie to every customer that I've talked to that has even sprinkled a little bit of just politics into talk. Have you seen this movie? It's a really good movie. You should watch it if you have Netflix. It's incredible. That and The Social Dilemma. I recommend both of those. But I think that I'm not a fan of any movie bashing you over the head with topical issues. I think that there's a more elegant way to do it. And I think that this movie, while telling a historically important story, it does an excellent job, and it might just be telling that historical portion. It might be just telling that historical moment in history, right? That this story, but because of what it's dealing with, it feels very topical with today. With the loss of the Supreme Court justice and stuff like that, and just I'm gonna back up again. I'm trying to start. There's a lot to fucking talk about here.
There is, yes.
And we don't talk. We try not to. I mean, sometimes it gets in there. Politics and stuff gets in there. But for me, and I don't know why, but I often think of the courtroom as I try to think of it anyways. This definitely draws attention that it's not, but I always try to think of the courtroom as being a non-politically biased thing. There's a sanctity to the court, right? And because of the procedures and because of the way that the forefathers have drawn everything up and the way our court operates, you have people that interpret the laws, and the people that draw up the laws might be biased, and but the people that enforce the laws and interpret the laws, they come at it on a neutral level, right? These are the rules, and you're either outside of the rules or you're in the rules, right? And it's a non-biased thing. Like I said, there's a sanctity to it. And this just shits all over it. Like, the things that happen in this movie just make a travesty of what our court system is. And it really shed a lot of light. Like, I didn't think these... I just didn't. I would never see a judge doing the things that the judge did in this movie, and I don't know if that's factual. I don't know if there's a thing at the end of the movie where they talk about about the judge and about the different people and all this other things, but it really shines a different light on how I interpret how our justice system operates, and it's sad. And hopefully it's improved since 1968, or whenever the trial happened. But it's written in a way to really shed a lot of light on how that system of government operates. It's written in a way where there's a lot of comedic relief. Like, I found it absolutely hysterical. And then I found it absolutely hysterical for terrible reasons. Just the humor in it some of the humor is just dark. It's incredibly well acted. It's incredibly sharp and witty and well written. I like the way that the narrative kind of proceeds, right? They kind of go back and forth, and as they proceed through the trial, the story of what happened during the riots starts to unfold, and I like how they tackled telling the story of what happened versus like having the riot at the very beginning and then the trial, or having the trial and then revealing what happened at the very end. In a way, I guess that kind of happened, but it all kind of happened at the same time. And I found that I just really enjoyed it. And I don't know, I just enjoyed the real topical nature of the issues. And I don't know, I think it was just, I think it's a tour de force movie. I think I'm going to go out on a limb and say that this was probably, I don't know, it's definitely one of the most thought-invoking movies I've seen this year, and I thoroughly enjoyed this movie for a whole host of reasons. Maybe you can help dial me in a little bit, because I'm a little scattershot with all my thoughts.
Well, I mean, I think first maybe I'll just be responsive to some of the things that you talked about already. Yeah, I mean, no secret, I'm in law school right now, so I've spent time in court. I've learned about the law, and I think your conception of kind of what the courtroom is mostly true. In the sense that there is a usual sense of decorum that is expected to it. There, it's intended to be nonpartisan and neutral decision maker. Blah blah blah. That's kind of
justice is blind.
Justice, yeah, and stuff like that. And in some ways that's true. In some ways it isn't. I mean, obviously, yes, the Supreme Court I think is a pretty obvious example of where you can see real partisanship in terms of ideologies, if nothing else. They're interpreting laws, but they're interpreting laws kind of based on their own experiences, but based on experiences that are informed by their political ideologies. And so, obviously, that's a hot topic. We don't need to get into that particular front, but, that's obviously something that is on the forefront of many people's minds because it has implications. decisions have consequences, more or less, in terms of rights possibly being restricted or pulled back in the future. So, that's kind of a scary thing in and of itself. But yes, normally you think of, your judge. Your judge is kind of the smartest man in the room. He's the one that knows everything. He's omniscient somehow. He's the supposed to be the rational person who, sits in there and facilitates things. And obviously, you have a jury assembled of your own peers if you have a jury trial, so that, things, aren't just in the hands of the judge, and you have people that are supposedly, just regular laymen that are going to make decisions. But there's all sorts of shit that happens, juries get manipulated. Obviously, that's something that happens in this movie. Jurors get excluded because of this or that,
Which also happens in this movie.
Yeah, yes, correct, that happens. But, there is all sorts of things that happen in reality that seep into the courtroom that make it not such this, it's not a bastion of justice. I mean, obviously it stands for something, and it's kind of the system we've got, and it certainly needs work. I don't think that's a hot take to say, but people kind of know it. They kind of know what it's like, and they kind of know how to experience it. And there's a general expectation of kind of what it's like. And like I said, for the most part, I think that is largely true, with some exceptions. And this movie, I think, presents a very, very strong exception to the usual sense of what a trial is going to be like.
Especially
lots of
especially something of, at this time, something of that magnitude, right? Like, because of the magnitude of the things that they were trying, or the things that were on trial, or the thing that happened that was on trial, the whole world is looking, or whatever they say throughout the movie.
The whole world is watching, yeah.
The whole world is watching. Because of the magnitude of that particular trial, I feel like there was more what's the word I'm looking for? There was more, not manipulation, but the way that I would think that law should be proceeded, or the way that things should be done, obviously didn't happen.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it was a sham,
Yes.
and it was pretty plainly a sham to everyone involved, basically, except for apparently the judge. But yeah, it's wild, because this is based off of something that happened, and like I said, we'll dive into the specifics of things that are things that happened in actuality, and things that are just kind of depicted for the purposes of the dramatization here in the movie. But the broad strokes are actually like really, really close. I will say that. I mean, this trial basically played out in an almost similar fashion, and obviously the decisions and all that, and that's all shit that happened, and it's honestly insane,
completely ridiculous.
It's
Holy
insane.
Shit.
Like it's it feels like a parody sometimes, because of how exaggerated certain things are, and how exaggerated, like, the judge particularly is in this film. And to know that, like, this sort of shit happened at an actual trial, maybe half a century ago, it's insane. It's not like this is like, well, it was the 1800s, what are you going to do? Like, like, this is
modern history.
1968 is not that long ago. Certainly we weren't alive, you know what I mean?
Your grandfather was.
Right, and I guess my parents technically were, but just a few years old, so I probably don't remember a whole lot about this, but it's really not that far off, is kind of the idea, right? It's that this shit happened back then, and then there's obviously the topical nature of
it's happening now.
It's happening now, right? There's a lot of this. I don't know that trials are necessarily happening to this level,
fashion, right?
To this level of publicity, where it's obviously just a complete sham from the get go. But that's not to say that justice is served in every courtroom. That's certainly not true. Judges are sometimes bad people who are sometimes partisan hacks, who are, or either maybe just sometimes senile and not fit for the job, or not qualified for the job because they're appointed without having any real experience in whatever they're trying to be a judge of. Like, that shit does happen. It really does. And it's obviously pretty unfortunate that it happens,
though.
but
I don't think about that.
Yeah.
You think
You
about
don't expect
the court.
it.
No, you think about the court being the most like pristine fucking thing. You know what I mean? At least I do. But I don't know. It rocked my fucking world, man. This movie did.
Yeah. Well, what I will say, as well, is that coming from a position where I know I have an up close, view of what a court can be, should be, wants to be, that sort of thing. This film was absolutely fucking infuriating to watch.
Okay.
Because it makes a mockery of what lawyers and judges should be doing. Mostly judges, I guess, for the most part, but to some extent,
Well, but I don't know. I don't know. You can, like I said, complete your thought, please. Don't let me cut you off.
Well, it's just like I'm like watching this movie and I'm like, that's a constitutional violation. That's a constitutional violation. That's he didn't hear the objection on that properly. Like just certain things like that, and it's like.
But what do you say in that situation? When the judge denies you to be heard, despite if it's a constitutional violation, you can't say you'll get a contempt of court. Your Honor, that's a constitutional violation. A contempt. Bitch, shut down. Sit down.
Yeah, it's this is a movie where you think, well, there's a good thing there are multiple courts, in the sense that there are multiple levels of courts.
We're gonna get through this and fucking appeal it.
Yeah, it pretty much. I mean, that's. I mean, I don't think it's really that different. And like, if you found yourself in a real life scenario, it'd be like this. Like, okay, so make sure that everything is on the record as much as possible, and then appeal it as soon as possible, and see what happens. I mean, that would pretty much, I still think, be a strategy. Or you could file as many motions as you want, as they try to do in this film, and probably wouldn't be super successful on that front, but. Yeah. So yeah, that's why it's kind of just like you expect a certain level of decorum and understanding and respect, I guess, in a courtroom. And obviously, as a lawyer, you're not going to win every case you get. Sometimes your motions are going to get denied. Sometimes your objections are going to get overruled, and like all the breaks aren't going to go your way. You know what I mean? But like,
sure.
At a certain point, you can realize. No, this is fucking bullshit. You know what I mean? So that's kind of what this movie was like in a kind of a nutshell. It was like every 5 seconds being like, "Oh, this is fucking bullshit. I'm mad. I'm mad about this." Is kind of how I felt about a lot of it. Which is to say, it was a really, really fucking compelling movie to watch. I mean,
yes, it was.
It drew you in. I mean, I think that beginning is really snappy. The intro, pre-title sequence is snappy, kind of gets you in the feel for the movie.
You don't get the title card until like probably 5 minutes in.
Yeah, somewhere around there.
Yeah, it was a very strong intro.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I mean, I guess fun fact for myself, I guess I was planning to kind of watch this in 2 chunks because I started it really late last night. I started at like 12:30 last night, and I was just like, I don't want to I don't want to stay up till 3 a.m. watching this thing.
Couldn't put it down.
I couldn't put it. I paused it multiple times, and I was just like, time to go to bed. And then I'd sit there for like a minute. And I'm like, I gotta know. I gotta know what happens next. I gotta know. It's just it's a really, really perfectly paced movie. And I think the structure of it, I think that's something you talked about. I think it's pitch perfect. I said the beginning draws you in, gets you set up, gives you the context, all the context you need. And then boom, you're right in the courtroom and the trial happens. And, a lot of this movie is spent in the courtroom, but then it kind of dives outside of that with the defendants as they're kind of doing other things externally from the court. Sometimes it flashes back and kind of fills you in on certain events, and then boom, you get the punchline at the end, and it really, really kind of ties everything together in a big, big way. And yeah, I mean, I just feel like, effusive praise is all I have for Aaron Sorkin, to be honest. I just think the way he writes, I mean, he's got a certain sense with his dialogue, and it's snappy, it's fun, it's witty. But it's really good. It's really fun to listen to, and it kind of, like I said, it just draws you in, and you don't want to put it down, and so within 5 minutes, come the title card sequence, like you're kind of in for the ride, almost in a way, don't you think?
That's it. Yeah, absolutely, definitely. And I think it's for all its for the way it pitches everything. I mean, I think despite whatever political affiliation you might have, I think it's definitely worth watching. Like it's not. It doesn't it's not like it's not like a politically spun movie, even though there are a certain group of people on trial. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? It I don't know. It just doesn't. I don't know, man. I think it's a really important fucking movie to watch right now. I think.
Yeah. I mean, Republicans love them some Ronald Reagan, but do they still love themselves some Richard Nixon? It's kind of just like this casts the Nixon presidency in a pretty bad light, but like the Nixon presidency doesn't really need a whole lot or it exists in a bad light. So I mean, maybe people love them some Nixon. I guess, but you know what I mean? Like, yes, it's kind of just not like it's shitting on thing that people love. It's like, no, here's another negative thing that happened as a result of this fuckhead, getting elected. And
that's right.
You know what I mean? So, it's equally infuriating as it is compelling. It's topical, obviously, and certainly that's maybe going to piss people off as that sort of thing with riots and protests and what that entails. But, it's timely. It is a timely film that, comes out, probably wasn't made necessarily to be timely, but certainly in these times it kind of hits that different level with it because it resonates beyond just being like, look at this thing that happened once upon a time. What a quaint time the late 1960s were with the Vietnam War and stuff like that. Like, no, like it hits, in a way that history consistently repeats itself, and so it hits as a result of that. I just think it tells such a really, really compelling story, and I think the way it's told, I think it hits hard. What it's really getting at, and I suppose putting your politics aside of, oh, I don't like these people or I don't like what they stand for. You could still, even if you're looking at it from like a judicial perspective of just being like, this is a miscarriage of justice. If you wanted to put it as such, then I think that it still follows from that you could derive some enjoyment and kind of see this film for what it's trying to depict. Something that happened in real life that is just kind of unfathomable, right? Just absolutely
I had no
insane.
idea this happened in history. Yes. I had no idea this ever happened.
That is one thing I did want to talk about. I think I had it on my mind like 5 minutes ago, and then it slept. It's another thing. Like, how do we not learn about this shit? Like, how is this something that is not in textbooks? I mean, maybe it is. Maybe I don't remember it. And, maybe it's in some textbooks, but not others. But it just seems like a big deal to think about. And honestly,
right?
I mean,
total manipulation of the fucking system, man.
Right. And, like law school is kind of an interesting kind of, law school is basically, let's read a bunch of cases that give you the law. They tell you like, this is a test that the court has developed and this is now being applied in future cases and stuff like that. This isn't a type of case that you'd really necessarily study in law school because of the structure of law schools. Like law school classes are like inherently doctrinal. Like you got to learn the law so that when you practice the law, you're just doing the law correctly because that's what the law is. Here it's like you're not really learning anything doctrinal. It's just here's an example of what not to do if you end up being a judge in your future. So it's not really like a case that you'd see in law school, but I do think this is something that you would study in like a middle school or a high school type thing of just being like
historical reference.
It's not about the law. It's not about what the law is. It's about what the court system is. It's about what the court system can be, what it should be, what it sometimes is, and and drawing on the context of the Vietnam War and the anti-war protests, which is a huge, the counterculture there was fucking huge. So I don't know. It really does seem. It does seem insane that like some of the stuff is like shit you don't know about. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, maybe we're exceptions and this is common knowledge, but I don't know that it is. I mean, I know that this has been depicted in like films before, but not recently. And I don't know. It just seems odd that like this is something that
You have to go to Netflix to learn this shit.
Right. Yeah, that just kind of blows my mind, to be honest. But I think that's probably the last thing I wanted to say in terms of just the story and kind of the commentary on the courtroom and the history of it and all that. What I think probably my last thought, I think for non-spoilers, is this cast is incredible and they fucking all nailed it. I mean,
every single one of them.
All of them are incredible. I mean, we could go down the list and talk about, I mean, I guess, some characters obviously get more of a presence than others, but I think those that really do get a substantial role were just incredibly impressive. So for my money, I think Yahya Abdul-Mateen II was fantastic here. I think Mark Rylance as the defense attorney was really, really good. I wasn't sure about him at first because it was kind of an understated, and then the more shit happens, the more he just starts to fucking lose it, Yeah. And I was just like, yes, I am this guy. I feel this. I feel his pain. Frank Langella is he's the judge, and I guess kudos for being an absolute piece of shit that you just hate.
He's on point.
I can't think of like a quote unquote movie villain in recent memory that has made me so goddamn mad that I just my heart's been racing and my blood's been boiling. Like I just haven't felt that in a little while, I don't think. And Michael Keaton, bit role here, is great. I think he really, he has that coolness to him. I love Michael Keaton. I think he's really great.
Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
Joseph Gordon-Levitt is good. He's good. He's kind of a conflicted character, which maybe we'll talk about, but I think it's more of an understated performance for him. But I think it's good. But I think who really blew my socks off was Sacha Baron Cohen. I think
yes,
he was so good in this.
Ridiculously good.
I mean, we kind of had a sense of it from the trailer. There's the one line towards the end of the trailer where you could tell, like, oh, he's going to own this role. But
he fucking owned it.
From the beginning of this film to the end of this film, like, he really, really embraced this role. And obviously, it's kind of funny because we don't really think of him as like a traditional actor, right? But like, It takes some chops to just become Borat or become Bruno or become Ali G. So like,
and to consistently get away with
different. Yeah, right. And to do that, like, on a live setting in front of people. Here, he's a real life person that that lived, and he's kind of inhabiting that role, through this man as a character, version of this man. But yeah, I mean, of course he has the chops for it. Why wouldn't he, based on everything else that he's capable of? But I really do think, I guess we saw him be kind of goofy and over the top in Talladega, but this felt like a more like serious role. Like it's different because it's more serious than everything else he's kind of done. But he crushed it. He was really good.
A homeboy from the Beast and Magic or whatever the fuck it is. What's the name of that movie? Beast and Harry Potter and the Wizarding World of Beast and Magic.
Yes, Fantastic Beasts. Eddie Redmayne. Yeah.
Yeah, he did a good job.
Yeah, he was good. Mm-hmm.
They all nailed their role. They felt like real people, man. All of them did.
Yeah. They really, they inhabited the roles just really well. And they sold the movie. Like this could have been like a stage production. You could cast all these guys, I think, in their roles, and I think they really would have knocked it out of the park. It's just a sharp, well-delivered, well-packaged movie.
The way it was shot,
just hits,
and I don't know, man. It was just a tour de force movie. It's the perfect storm. It really is.
Co-signed tour de force movie. Watch Review Repeat gives it, quote unquote, tour de force movie. Put that on the Blu-ray cover.
It's a tour de force movie.
It's incredible. I mean, this is obviously we're in limited supply in terms of like what we've seen in this year, but I think this has to gravitate towards the top of the pack, right? I mean,
I was hesitant to say it at the beginning because this year has been I didn't know that Hollow Man came out this year.
Invisible Man. The
Invisible Man.
Sure.
What?
Same thing.
Right.
One's got Kevin Bacon, one doesn't, but yeah, it's fine.
Same thing. Yeah. So this year has been very long, but Man, definitely one of the most thought-invoking. Definitely one of the best. I have to say, I think it might be one of the best movies I've seen this year.
It's up there. It's up there.
It's incredible. It's a real good movie. So you want to slide into recommendations and then spoilers?
Yes. Recommendation. I think this is probably one that's going to be pretty easy.
I think we might agree on this one. I think we've disagreed on the past couple, but I think we might agree that this is a very
well. We
movie.
agreed on The Boys for sure, but maybe in terms of movies, we might have disagreed. But
I think so because the past couple
yes.
Netflix, I think we've been flippy floppy. Maybe
I don't know,
bit,
but this is. I think we're in full agreement that this is a very yes movie.
Very yes,
without
movie.
a doubt,
without a
Highly
shadow of a doubt. It doesn't matter what kind of movie you're into. I don't think that this. There's not a person that I can't recommend this movie to. I recommend this. I literally recommend it to customers on a daily basis.
Yeah, you said as much. Yeah.
Very good movie. Very, very, very good movie on all fronts, on technical fronts, and on content front, and all of it. It's just fucking tour de force, dude.
Fucking tour de force. Yeah. Enough said. It's a very yes movie. Go watch it. Go fucking, if you don't have your own Netflix, ask your friend for a login or something, or just do the trial period, something like that. It is worth watching. I think it's probably best thing I've seen in a little while in terms of films for sure. Obviously it's desperate times in 2020, but this blows the bar. This really, really hit the mark. Yeah.
It blows the bar way out of the water. So
for sure. All right, let's move on then. Full spoilers for the trial of the Chicago 7. So, is there anywhere? I mean, I know I wanted to talk about, what's true, what's not, that sort of thing. But before we get to that, is there anything, right off the cuff that you really want to talk about in terms of spoilers?
You kick it off, dude. You just kick it off.
All right, I'll kick it off. So, I mean, some of this stuff is probably just, inevitably going to be talking about things that happen in the movie. So if that sparks inspiration, feel free to cut in whatever, of course. But we talked a lot about the judge. And Judge Julius Hoffman was indeed a real man who presided over the real trial of the Chicago 7. And in fact, he was a real piece of shit who was just absolutely wilding out. All in all, quote unquote, he assigned a staggering 175 counts of contempt throughout the entirety of the trial.
Jesus.
So that's a start of just this guy. And then what's interesting is I think the film at the end credit was 70% of Chicago lawyers basically said this guy fucking sucks or something like that. Wasn't there some sort of title card about that?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah.
He was unqualified to do his job.
Right. Yeah. So the thing about that is he continued to serve on the bench until a year before he died, which was another 10 years, I think, after this or somewhere around there. So how?
Now, was his position as a judge should be voted in, correct?
Depends on where you are.
Oh, it depends on where you are.
Depends on where you are. You're either elected or appointed. I think he's a district court judge because this is all federal, so he was probably appointed. He was probably appointed by a president.
Does that mean he's there for life, or does that mean the only ones that are there for life are... Oh, wow.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes it depends. Some appointments can be lifetime. It really just does depend on the court and, the
state and all that stuff.
Yeah, so I mean, he was a federal district judge, so I'm not exactly sure, to be honest.
Lord have mercy.
But I mean, he was there until he died, more or less. So for all intents and purposes, it was a lifetime appointment to the bench.
Jeez.
So yeah, and
there's no repercussions
that's
for
one
that
aspect of it.
There's no repercussions for him completely shitting on the due process.
Yeah, I mean, kind of not really. I mean,
that's ridiculous.
For this particular judge, there was basically no consequence other than to say that his rulings got undone. once they got kicked up on appeals.
And see, that's the shitty thing about the court, though. I mean, those people still ended up serving time.
Yeah. I mean,
people still give their times of their life spent in jail because of one shitty person. Now, to be fair, though, there was a jury on this trial, though, right?
Yeah, I mean, basically, so, I mean, kind of the interesting thing about this is 5 of the 7 were, in fact, convicted by the jury, which, to be fair, the trial itself was very obviously slanted towards the government in the sense that the defense wasn't allowed to put on certain witnesses. That is one thing, I guess, just side note. So the Michael Keaton character, the former attorney general, that was sort of true, but kind of not true in the sense that they did basically try to have him testify, and basically his testimony wasn't allowed to go before the jury. But the nature of his testimony was different. He wasn't as much of just being like, yeah, this whole trial is bullshit. Like that wasn't quite accurate.
Okay.
So they made Michael Keaton a little cooler than the actual former attorney general was under LBJ. But yeah. I think, I mean, 5 of the 7 got convicted, so they served some time on that until the appeals kind of went through the appeals process, which is not fast. None of the court system is fast. I think that's you probably know that, but
sure.
But yeah, so that's one aspect of it, and then there's all the contempt charges on top of everything else. The 100 and what did I say? What was the number I said? 175. I mean, that's obviously split amongst 2 defense attorneys, 7, the Chicago 7 plus the 8th, who was not represented by those 2 attorneys. Bobby
Which would
Seale,
be
what's his name? Bobby Seale.
Yahya Abdul-Mateen.
Yeah, that's his character. And so he obviously received a lot of those contempt citations as well.
And he was completely unrepresented.
Right. That's where the constitutional violations came in for me, and it was like, yeah, this guy's being denied his right to counsel, basically. And at a certain point, he's like,
he couldn't even practice for himself.
Right. I say he's trying to be a pro se litigant at a certain point, and that's not even allowed. Like just a little shit with the judge. Like he couldn't get names right. He wouldn't let him speak, which obviously, I mean, there was a clear racial charge to that particular aspect of the case. I don't think there's any doubt about that. But just like he couldn't get like Derringer. He couldn't get that right. The shit about Hoffman is like, I would like to, I'm not related to him. Father, no. Just this judge just absolutely fucking wilding out is just it blows me away that this is someone that is allowed to be a judge, like just allowed to be a judge, and someone like like this guy should they should be escorting this guy to fucking to a retirement home basically at this point. But here he is in a position of power where he's allowed to abuse it and just clearly be a biased piece of shit. But yeah. Anyway, I don't remember exactly what the point I was building to, but yeah. Well, the judge sucks. I mean, that obviously more or less goes without saying, but I'll say it regardless. Basically, because of the contempts of court, even for like Bobby Seale, because there was a mistrial declared there. I don't even know if I can't remember. I don't think they tried to retry him again. I think they just said fuck it at that point. I can't remember. But because of the contempts, he had 16 counts of contempt that were levied against him, which meant that he was sentenced to 4 years in prison from just the events of this one trial for all of those counts of contempt, which is fucking insane. And so I think some of that got cut short because of the appeals, but like he spent some of that time. I mean, in prison, in like just absolutely wild. Just wild. One thing to note on Bobby Seale's front, there's that pretty fucking awful scene where, after Well, so I guess one thing to say is obviously the Black Panther Party plays a big part in this movie. They're kind of present throughout the courtroom.
Yeah.
And you have Fred Hampton show up at one point. There's no record that Fred Hampton was apparently ever at any of these proceedings, but, it's just kind of I guess a good showing for a dramatization of the, one of the most prominent members of the Black Panther Party supporting one of the literal co-founders of the Black Panther Party in court. He was in fact basically beaten, bound and gagged in the courtroom. However, the movie actually makes it seem better than it is, because basically in the movie it's a span of maybe like, I don't know, 20, 30 minutes between when that happens and when the mistrial gets declared, whatever the sense of time is. In real life, it was 3 days where he was in that condition. 3 days where he was bound and gagged in a courtroom, which,
jeez,
it really just blows your mind.
How does that bode with the people that were the jury?
Well, they didn't have a chance to convict him, but I think there's a pretty clear indication from the movie, and I'm not sure how much of this is true, that the jury was pretty much handpicked to give them the result that they desired, which is a pretty common practice. Even today is still a fairly common practice of, you want your favorable jury that's going to get you a favorable result if you're a prosecutor. I think it was even more exaggerated back then, certainly. And, sensibilities of the 1960s, getting a pretty, I would imagine, mostly white jury to get the scary black man convicted. It's, pretty standard practice, I would think.
God, it's ridiculous. So, that's nuts. Completely nuts.
Yeah. What else? I'm just looking at one particular article from Time. There's actually quite a few articles that are talking about like the veracity of certain things and, lack of veracity of other certain things. But
what about the lack of, what about the 4 different people went to the city to ask for a place to protest, and it was denied.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, actually, I'm not sure about that one. I haven't seen anything necessarily about that particular one, so I'm not sure on that. But we can talk about that, certainly. Which,
hey, we want to advocate for something. We're filing for a proper motion to advocate for it. Places where you want us. Where do you want us to go? No, we don't want you to go anywhere. We don't want you to say anything. Well, it's gonna happen. You should probably give us somewhere to go. Right. No, we're not gonna give you anywhere to go. It's when people say, "Oh, I'm all for protesting, but I'm all for protesting the right way." Well, I can't protest the right way because I can't. Nobody's gonna give me the right to protest.
Yeah. I mean. What a concept, protesting. I mean, you'd think if people were allowed to protest, they would just put that in the Constitution. It is in there? It is? Huh.
And that's what I say. I laughed throughout the entire movie, but I don't know if I was laughing for the right reasons. I feel like I was just laughing because it's just I don't know, man. It's not good. It's not good at all.
No. Yeah. Let's tone police how people, express their constitutional right to protest. Okay. More power to you, I suppose.
But the radical leftists did say spill the blood all over the streets.
Well, they didn't say it exactly that way. Are you a prosecutor right now? Or are you just being like, yeah, he's just saying spill blood. He's saying murder fools. He's saying, kill every motherfucker in the streets. Kill the pigs. That's what he said, right? No, I don't think so. I did like that it kind of turned on like there's a couple times where like Eddie Redmayne's character kind of fucks up. He stands up when everyone else is like supposed to be sitting in like their protest of this piece of shit judge, and then he stands up just instinctually and is just like, oh, I'm just gonna slink back down.
But then he had that. So the entire movie there was that guy taking the names. Every time it pop up on TV, he'd record all the names. He recorded like 5,000 names or whatever, and then you had that moment there at the end, and even the prosecution stood up. Or Jordan, not Jordan. Joseph Gordon-Levitt's character stood
Joseph
up.
Gordon-Levitt. Yep.
In reverence for the fallen soldiers and stuff. So I don't know, man.
Yeah. Did you like that moment?
I did like that. I did like that moment. Because it was at that moment that you have that torn character of the prosecution, because I mean he was torn throughout the entire movie. He kind of just takes a stand. Hey, listen, you know what I mean? These people did die for the country. They were pulled from their homes and forced to serve in a draft. And I thought that moment was really good. It was really gratifying for all the characters. And it kind of drew a hard line between the people that were real pieces of shit and the people that were decent.
Yeah. Yeah. I did think it was a good moment. And fun fact, it was completely and entirely fictitious. Did not happen. That whole final sequence did not happen. So that's just kind of an interesting. So it was interesting that he ended on this kind of fictitious note, I guess. Was the whole bit about him? Hey, listen, you were the only one to stand up for me. Blah 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 blah. I'll give you a break if you make your thing short and sweet. Was that a real thing, or was that fictitious? I think that was all. I think that was all, like, that whole scene, I think, was pretty much just Aaron Sorkin's doing, which I think he kind of just wanted to end it on a more of a punchy note, I think, more so.
Well, it was certainly punchy. It was very good.
Yeah, I mean, I think probably how it really played out was, well, everyone found you guilty, I'm sentencing you to the max. Probably more or less was kind of how it played out, which is, perhaps not the most entertaining form of television or film, I guess. But I do think it was kind of an interesting kind of way to do it. And I'm saying all this shit, and I'm not saying it to say, like, I can't believe that they changed this or they added this or whatever. Like this is, it's an adaptation. It's a dramatization, as I've said multiple times. And, like, you kind of do what works for a film. Like, it's not intended to be a documentary, right?
Right. And if it was, it would be labeled as a documentary.
Right. It's clearly casting light on something that really happened. And so, like, if it fascinates you enough, you can go back and do what I'm doing and look at, like, shit, like, how much of this actually did fucking happen? And honestly, like, yeah, like, there are a lot of things that maybe weren't quite right or a little bit off, but, like, the fact that most of this shit happened is honestly just baffling and, like, really just, it's concerning, obviously, but, it's really kind of insane to think about. And this is actually something that I think I thought I was going to use as my fun fact, and then I forgot about it, and then I just remembered it like an hour into recording. So here's my later addition to the fun fact segment. A lot of the trial dialogue is actually verbatim from the real trial. So it's it's kind of mix and match. Some of it's Aaron Sorkin dialogue, but a lot of the trial specific stuff is all just like there's a record. There's a full transcript of what actually happened in the trial, and some of that's just lifted straight out of there.
That's
so
ridiculous.
Kind of so, like, some of it's, like, seems just really, really over the top, and, like, no, and I didn't say that. So, there's a very real possibility, depending on what the scene is you're talking about, where that actually did, in fact, happen. So
it's nuts.
And, some of the kind of, more interesting, like the bit where they put the judge's robes on for those sequence.
Yes.
That happened. That was real.
The guy's completely ridiculous.
So, there's just things where it's just like that can't be real. Oh, it is? Oh, okay.
Man.
I think that's probably mostly what I have in terms of, like, what did or didn't happen. Actually, I take that back. One thing I actually think that they changed, which I didn't like, there's the one non-violence character, Dellinger, who's, his whole thing is preaching non-violence.
Yeah.
He's just kind of swept up into this, much like the rest of them, just kind of swept up into this. And they have a moment where he punches one of the court marshals. He gets very frustrated at the judge and kind of lashes out physically. And that is also something that didn't happen. And it kind of feels like a weird black mark against this real life person who, as far as we know, had no incidences of, like, real life violence, and, like, it's antithetical to kind of his whole personality, and that's kind of why it shows. It's just like, this is the kind of situation that will infuriate even the most non-violent person to be just fucking livid enough to just light someone up, and, like, you feel it, and, like, it's a good moment because just, like, yeah, I feel, I want to punch someone too. And like, I like it in the film itself, but it does feel kind of disrespectful in its own sort of way to just be like, yeah, this nonviolent guy is the one that snapped, physically on the stand, but
right.
I don't know. And so it's kind of a minor grievance. I just kind of felt like I think the trial transcript shows that like he had a lot of verbal outbursts, and I think he called out the judge a couple times, kind of how he did, but he didn't ever actually.
And he
resort to
waited a
physical
long
violence,
time to call out the judge.
Right, like he bit his tongue for a long ass time, and then he's just like, I can't do this shit anymore. Like you sir.
Almost like the defense attorney. The defense attorney held his tongue for a long time too.
Yeah, I mean, he was just like, all right, maybe this is, just a hostile judge. That happens,
Even in the private counsel, though, even like when the Panthers supposedly sent the letter,
allegedly sent the letter.
Yeah. He, for the love of God, we're not representing him, and
yeah, that was infuriating. It was just like, how do you not fucking understand that he's not representing? Well, you're standing next to him. You must be representing him. Like, it's not how this works, you fucking idiot.
And it was a through line throughout the entire movie, throughout the entire freaking thing until they what's it called, a mistrial? They mistrialed him or something.
Well, they mistrialed. I mean, they mistrialed the Bobby Seale. He got a mistrial declared, but. Yeah.
God damn. It's crazy. Yeah. So
Absolutely
I don't know
wild.
if there's I don't have a whole lot of spoiler stuff in this movie. Other than I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I guess just anything else that I can think of beyond just what's real and what's not. Just talking about the film specifically for now. Yeah, I really thought it did. I did enjoy the humor. I just saw something on the cast list. I did enjoy the humor of the way that it cross-cut between like this guy showing up and like someone showing up to the seven and just for basically to Sacha Baron Cohen's character or Jeremy Strong's character and just being like, hey, what's up? Like I'm totally about the counterculture, yo. And then it cuts back to the stand and they're just like I'm Staff Sergeant Bob blah blah blah, here to testify.
And that was an interesting throughput for his character too. How now they I mean, I would imagine that's consistent with history. How they just were completely anti-establishment and just the whole thing's a joke. The whole thing's a ruse, and they really didn't appear to give a shit. They show up with the judge gown or whatever, and then they show up with underneath that was the police uniform and making a complete mockery of the judge. And I don't know, it was really gratifying to kind of see.
Yeah. Basically, they knew it was a quote unquote political trial, and they were just kind of taking the piss at a certain point and just being like, let's just fucking make this as ridiculous as possible. I mean, if you were in that position, like, and especially for the types of personalities that these people were, like,
what are you gonna do?
Why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you do it? Like, what do you have to lose? Basically. So, yeah, infuriating. Is what I would say about a lot of this movie, but. Gratifying by the end. I mean, not it's not like it's sort of like a feel good ending, I guess, in the sense like it's punchy more than it is feel good. But just to leave, just to have the knowledge that like, oh yeah, the appeals court just overturned everything because of course they did, because they probably were like, what in God's name happened here for like months and months and months? Like, what is this shit? I mean, can you just imagine like just being someone that's like of rational mind looking at this? I mean, you that's what we're doing right now. Like, that's what the appeals court is just like, you fucking what? And this dude said fucking what?
And who does the appeals court consist of? Not to get too nitty gritty, but what is the appeals court? Is it a series of judges?
Yes. Yeah, it would have been a series of judges. I don't know exactly how they would have handled this case. A lot of times, like a circuit court is composed of many judges, and a lot of times we'll hear things en banc, which is usually just a panel of 3 judges, but sometimes there'll be like the full court will hear it. So I don't actually know what the history is of this particular case in terms of how it went up on appeal and who it went before, but yeah.
Needless to say,
there would be more that there would be layers. That's why there's layers. There would be more than one person looking at this saying like, "Huh, what?" For sure. So, but yeah. Any other thoughts?
The only other thought is just it's interesting to see how you would think, and I've said it before, a completely non-biased, what should be a completely non-biased thing, politics and everything bleed into that third branch of government more than we'd care to at least acknowledge. Admit.
It happens. So,
and what should be it should be a jury-driven thing, but the jury's handpicked, and on top of that, the judge can select on what can and can't be heard by the jury. Which in some cases, I imagine that's probably a good thing, but in some cases it can be abused. So it's just, I don't know. Makes you look at what our justice system is in new light, I guess. So I don't know. I really appreciate it for that.
In some slight defense of the court system, most courtrooms are not like this.
I should certainly hope not.
There is obviously the possibility that judges aren't as qualified as they should be, or are letting their own personal thoughts and ideologies get injected a little bit more than they theoretically should allow them to. These are things that absolutely do happen, and some prosecutors are, like Joseph Gordon-Levitt was a pretty conflicted prosecutor. You could tell that he was bullshit, but, he was just trying to do his job, which, honestly, it's kind of questionable, too, of just being like, if you really know that what you're doing is fucking bullshit and you're, ruining people's lives as a consequence of that, like,
why are you doing it?
Should you still be doing that? Should you still be doing that? Whereas there are people, like clearly his co-counsel, whoever that guy was clearly just being like, yeah, fuck all these guys. Like, hell yeah, Nixon, it's great, and so there obviously are going to be people that will be in that position too, and less so, I think, probably on the defense side, although, I guess, there's a reputation of slippery defense lawyers that, are, pull every shit in the playbook to get their obviously guilty clients out. Here, these are guys that are, maybe guilty. We see Eddie Redmayne pop a tire or, slash a tire, and we see, some pretty minor petty shit, but conspiracy, like, what a fucking joke. You know what I mean? So the sort of federal charges they were trying to slap on him were pretty bullshit and plainly bullshit at that. So, but yeah, the court system needs some work. I will admit to that. And it has the potential to lead to something like this happening. But
hopefully it's come a long way since then.
Yeah, in some ways it has, I hope. So, I guess I will end by just saying I just feel like I almost wish they didn't include this in the trailer, but Hoffman's testimony, I've never been on trial for my thoughts before, was such a good line. I think it would have had even more impact if we didn't see it already, because that was the moment that sold you in the trailer, and it was just like, hoo. And in the movie, it still kind of has the same effects, but I almost think it might have had more dramatic effect if that was the first time we were hearing it, and that was like 2 hours of build up to this kind of just boom, gotcha line would have been really good. But as it stands, it was really, really good, and film itself was just really, really fucking good. So highly recommended. The Trial of the Chicago 7. Everyone check it out on Netflix.
Everyone do it.
Even if you listen through spoilers and you haven't seen it, honestly, not too big of a deal. It's a historical event for the most part. So
none of us probably were ever educated on.
Yeah.
Get educated on it. No, a partial
it.
education at least.
Yeah. Take a dive on the dramatization of it and enjoy it that way. So yeah. that's what we have on the trial of the Chicago 7.
Bump.
I just dropped my phone. Apologies.
Ooh. Hopefully it doesn't look like my phone.
No, it does not. I do have another brief addition to the listener's corner if we would like to get into it.
From
Bruce Brown, regular contributor to the listener's corner, but of course,
always appreciated.
Writes in. He has listened to our latest episodes, both on Enola, Holmes, and The Boys, and so he has some thoughts on that and some other things that we mentioned as well. So he says that as far as Enola Holmes is concerned, that he agrees that it was good for a COVID Netflix movie. Fun, not amazing though. Thought that the fourth wall stuff was cute, but he agreed with you in that it was worn out quickly, and what was cute just kind of became annoying at a certain point. Valid. Very valid. As far as The Boys, he says he can't say enough about The Boys. Glad you both liked it. And I think liked it is understating it. We loved it. Go watch The Boys on Amazon. Anyone that didn't get a chance to listen to our episode on The Boys, highly, highly recommended as well. Andrew, you mentioned The Man in the High Castle. Bruce writes in saying it's excellent and worth watching. And of course, the same is true for another Amazon show. Bosch. Bosch.
Bosco would also be a cool title.
And some other things that he writes in about Umbrella Academy Season 2. He says Season 1 was good, but not overly compelling. Again, just a lack of anything better to watch. Doesn't seem like he has a whole lot of thoughts of on Season 2 thus far, so maybe on a future episode. If you're looking for a really good show to watch with your better half, the new season of the British baking show is out, and ... it is awesome.
Oh,
so,
okay.
So that's something there. And then finally, the chef show is great, really enjoyable, highly recommend it. And I will have some thoughts on that myself in just a couple minutes, I think. So before we get there, you've been up to, well, I know you've been up to things. You were in Georgia very recently. So how was that?
Yeah, so I went to Blue Ridge with Sarah and the fam, and we I rode dirt bikes. This was an interesting trip. I rode dirt bikes, and we typically try to go on northern Georgia, or probably Georgia in general. It's got a lot of forestry land, and they have different trails that you can ride bikes on, or drive your truck down, or hike down. There's different designations for what's allowed on different trails. Me and my dad, we always try to find new trails. I take a Garmin with me just in case. I put it on my bike, and just in case we get lost or whatever, because we get into the thick of it sometimes, and you got to navigate back. But trailblazing or whatever, trail finding or whatever the fuck it's called, I don't know what it's called, but finding new trails and navigating that and marking it on a map is, I happen to find it very, 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 very enjoyable. I really enjoy it. And the enduros are cool because you can go on normal road paths. You can drive it down the regular road because it's tagged like a car. But then you can also take it on straight up dirt bike paths, or the most narrow of paths. You can't take it on a walking path legally. But either way, this last time we went down a trail, and there were a lot of people camping because it was super, super busy because the leaves were changing. So a lot of people were in Blue Ridge this past weekend that we went, and camping and stuff. And anyways, we left around 3:30, and we were planning on coming back around 5, just a couple hour drive, and just going on a leisurely trail. Well, we went on this unmarked trail that we had not been down before, but I could tell that from the Garmin that we were within 1,000 feet of going, within connecting of another trail that we had been on, right? So if we can get to that other trail, we can get back to the main road, and we can get back home before dinner. Well, my bike had been, it hadn't been idling good, right? So it would cut out At like when I would try to climb up hills and stuff, it would cut out, and then I'd have to restart it. Which under normal riding circumstances isn't a big deal, but if you're like if you're having to dodge trees and climb up little hills and this and that, it's a problem because I'm having to fight the bike as well as fight the hills and the topography of where I'm riding. Anyways, so we were probably an hour and a half, 2 hours away from the house. Not a lot of mileage wise away, but because of how you have to drive in the mountains and stuff, we were a good ways away. And I was having a fight. We got to a certain point. We were within 800 feet of hitting this road, and we couldn't hit the road. And we're like, okay, well, we got to turn back. So I tried to turn back, and having to fight the hills and everything, I had to keep restarting my bike. Well, my bike ended up dying. The battery ended up dying. And we got that bitch stuck in the middle of like the fucking forest, dude. Like not even like not like if it was like on a mountain road or something, we could push it downhill or something and like drop it into gear to start it, push start it, essentially.
Yeah.
But we were so far and we were in such thick of woods that we couldn't start it. So we tried to push it out, but we were so far in. I'm like, listen. And my dad's got he's like a fucking bird. Like he's got this ridiculous sense of navigation. Like I have no idea how he does it. But I'm like, listen, you need to leave me. You need to leave me. You need to go back home. You need to get whatever you need to get and come back and get me. And this was at like 3:30, 4 o'clock. And so he left, right? And we tried to push the bike out for probably a solid hour and a half. And I at one point I thought I was going to have a heart attack. Like I just couldn't breathe. I couldn't do it. Like I thought I was going to pass out. Like, listen, I can't push this fucking bike out, dude. You need to go out and you need to leave because you can find your way back or you can find your way out of the woods. I can't find my way out of the woods if I leave. So he left. I waited for probably an hour and a half. And the sun started going down and I'm in the middle of the fucking woods in the middle of fucking forest, dude, out in the middle of the Blue Ridge. And I started hearing some noises out in the woods, and I'm usually pretty comfortable out in the woods. But and we were so far back, and I still had my Garmin. So I still had the GPS, so I could walk my way out of the woods and get back to where I needed to be. But I wasn't confident that my dad could find me in the dark out where we were at. So I had a GoPro on me and I had some other stuff. I picked it all off the bike and I started walking. I left the bike when the sun started setting. And it was just, I ended up breaking this twig off. Not this twig. It was a fucking like 6.5 foot, like stick or pole or whatever. And I broke it off and I had a walking stick and I was just walking through the forest. And then I found the road and I probably walked like 3.5 or 4 miles. And the difference in elevation I ended up looking at it on the GPS. It ended up being like a difference of like 700 feet upward, going up in elevation. So I was pretty worn out. And so my dad ended up finding me on the road there at probably like 7:30 or 8 o'clock at night. And like I said, the sun, well, no, it was probably later than that. It was probably closer to 9 because it was pitch fucking black. It was dark. And I had used the Garmin to get me back to the road. So I got back to the road and I was just straight up I had a jumpsuit on and I'm just walking down the road with a walking stick. And we ended up going back. He brought the 4-wheeler and this truck and we ended up going back out and we hooked the dirt bike up to the 4-wheeler and I had to walk the 4-wheeler back up like 500 foot worth of elevation while he was pulling it with the 4-wheeler. And it was a bear. We didn't get back to the house till like 10:30 and I had been out since like 3 o'clock. This was the one time, like, you usually have like a water pack on my back. It's like a pouch full of water and with like a It's called a camelback, right?
Yeah.
Usually, every time we go out on the bikes, I always bring it. I didn't bring it this time. I was so dehydrated.
Lesson learned.
Lesson learned. You never leave without that, and you don't leave without a jump box. I'm going to bring a jump box in the saddlebags next time. Also, my phone, it was in the saddlebags. It got completely annihilated because at one point we took the saddlebags off of the bikes. And tried to connect the two bikes together so we could try to pull the bike out of the woods. That didn't work. And my phone got crushed as because it was in the saddlebags. So it was a pretty horrendous experience, but it was a good father-son kind of deal. It was pretty good. And I spent a lot of times alone in the fucking woods. You spend some time alone in the woods. It's always a real good thing.
You're a changed man. You're a
changed man. Now. It was a time alone in God country, so it's always good. And what else have I done? Oh, for my birthday, our regular guest Henry he sent me some of his Green Goblin #2 pumpkin ale.
Oh, he shipped it down there.
He shipped it down there. He had to tell a white lie to get it to me. He told he said that he was shipping down rare sodas.
It's very rare indeed. Yeah, I mean you can't find it anywhere else.
That's right. But this particular pumpkin ale is 7.2 alcohol per volume, and it's brewed by Two Black Cats Brewing. It's got a very nice label on it, and it happened to be a incredibly delicious beer. I was thoroughly impressed with it. If this was available at the stores, I would definitely be purchasing it. Green Goblin #2 pumpkin ale. If you can find a way to hit Henry up for his brews, I don't think you could probably get them shipped anywhere, but if you happen to be in his area of locale, you might be able to get in touch with him to get some of these because they are fantastic. They're very good. It's a brown ale, I think it is, with a lot of pumpkin and spices and shit in it.
Yeah, it's really good. I tried it myself a few weeks back since he hand delivered it to me since we're a little closer in terms of geography, and I think I enjoyed it when I was watching a football game, a Gator football game a few weeks back, and absolutely delicious. So yes, very good, very good.
What else do I've got going on? So Sarah's real big in Dancing with the Stars. So I've been privy to that.
Is anyone fun on this season? Any good people? Who are you rooting for?
Let me tell you something. There's a judge. So there's an older judge from the UK. He didn't come down because of COVID. I don't know his name. But they got this ex-professional dancer that had been a professional dancer with the Stars to judge. In this last episode, he did a Spanish dance where they tap dance a little bit, and where they would have the clackers. You know what I'm talking about?
Okay. No, but
you don't know what I'm talking about. Those Spanish dances. Oh, it was ridiculous. Anyways, this dude that's been judging, he is completely fucking ridiculous. Like, if this was Dancing with the Stars every week, I would be thoroughly excited to watch every single week if this dude danced. It was insane. Really good dance. But no, I don't know. They got an NFL dude on there. I actually think he got voted out this last week. Spoiler alert. So I don't know. There's a lady from The Bachelorette that Sarah loves. Caitlin. Her name's Caitlin.
Okay. All right.
She's on there. Sarah loves her a lot. I mean, I don't know. It's okay. We started watching the Voice tonight. She's into that. I watched The Voice too. I like The Voice too. So we started watching that tonight, and I think that'll be on tomorrow. We're still on the Home Chef, which completely I need to get a what do the influencers have with the links? We need to get a link for the for the influence on the podcast.
Like a referral or something like that.
An affiliate link. That's what it's called. We need to get some affiliate links for the Home Chef, because I've been hooked on the Home Chef.
Well, I think you need to head that one up. You're the Home Chef expert at this point, so
shit's good. Other than that, though, the Chicago 7 really, man, Chicago 7 was like the highlight of what I've watched recently.
Yeah.
Other than that, though, that's pretty much been about it. What have you been up to? Georgia did lose their football game.
They did lose. I'm sorry, I predicted it. I thought maybe I'd be an asshole and rub salt in the wound. I was just like, I'm in no position to do so. Florida's in equal position of just.
Well, the sad thing was, I mean, come halftime, like it was like it was a grudge match there until halftime, and then it slipped and it slipped in a big way, and it went south real quick. But
yeah, it turns out scoring 0 points in the second half is a bad strategy.
It's true.
So yeah,
it's very true.
Yeah.
But on a high note, the Rays are in the World Series. I don't know how they played tonight, but that.
So yeah, well, that's actually where I'm going to jump in right now. If you want me to just take the reins from this point, MLB playoffs. Rays are in fact in the World Series, which is very exciting. Good for them. Second World Series appearance in their franchise history. Didn't work out so well the last time, but maybe this time will work out better. Unfortunately, they did in fact lose Game 1 tonight to the Dodgers, which brings me great heartache to say that it's the Dodgers representing the National League in the World Series. My Atlanta Braves took them to 7 games and lost Game 7. In fact, the Braves were up 3-1 in terms of the series and choked away the final 3 games of the series to lose to the Dodgers.
That was almost the Rays.
It was almost the Rays. The Rays almost did it. They almost did it even worse. They were up 3-0 and almost choked away to the Astros, but they managed to defeat the cheaters once and for all, which was I appreciate the Rays for that. Yeah, the Braves had chances to kind of take that series and head to the World Series, and I think a Rays-Braves World Series would have been a dream come true. It would have been really, really awesome. But the Braves had opportunities that they didn't capitalize on. The Dodgers worked counts. They capitalized on opportunities that were presented, and they really kind of grinded their way to the World Series. And I think I said as much to people, probably not to you, but to people that care about baseball, i.e. not you, before the National League Championship Series started, that I didn't think Atlanta was really equipped for a 7-game series. And I think they actually did far better than I expected them to. At a certain point, when you go up 3-1 in the series, you kind of think, oh, these guys can win one of the next 3 games. And so I did have my hopes up that they could really seal the deal. And so I was really, really disappointed when they didn't. But the Dodgers, I think, are legitimately the best team in the National League. I think they showed that in the regular season. And I think the Rays are in for a pretty tough matchup. And Game 1 obviously didn't work out in their fashion.
There's a pitcher on the Rays. I brought this up last time. I think I brought it up to you. There's a dude named Jose.
Yeah.
It's like a glass cannon. He's always hurting himself. Yeah. He's always throwing his shoulder out. But and I don't watch a lot of baseball, so I don't know if I'm easily impressed or whatever.
Mostly via Sarah, I would imagine, or her family at this point.
But I saw this dude go on the mound in the last game, and he hadn't thrown a ball the entire series in the playoffs or whatever, and he got on. Even his changeup or his curveballs or whatever were like 98 miles an hour. They were completely absurd. Just blew my fucking mind.
That's what I like about baseball sometimes is like people just throw like 101 miles an hour and their changeup's like 94. And I'm like, that's just a fastball. It's a different fastball, but it's still a fastball.
It's just so fast. Nobody could hit it until he hurt himself. Until he hurt himself, and then he's out. All right, dude, you did you threw 3 people out, and now you're out. And then I haven't seen him since. I don't know if he threw tonight, but yeah, no. We'll see what happens. Hopefully Rays can bring it home.
Yeah, I mean, we
got the Stanley Cup.
Well, the Los Angeles just got the NBA title, so these are 2 cities that are not in desperate need of a championship in terms of sports. So we'll see who pulls it down. the Rays have never won in franchise history, so that would obviously be great. Would make back-to-back seasons with new champions that had never won in franchise history after the Nationals last year. And then the Dodgers haven't won since the 80s, so it's not like, I mean, they've been in the World Series a lot, but they've kind of fucked it up multiple times or been cheated out of it. Looking at you, the Astros, you fucking cheaters. But yeah, I mean, I love baseball. I'm super disappointed that the Braves didn't make it, but I think they had a great run, really good season, and they played the Rays earlier in the season and they lost that series, so I think that would have been a really tough matchup. But it would have been a really fun one to see in the World Series. But alas, here we are. So go Rays. Knock on wood, they can pull off something and win 4 out of these next 6 games that they're going to play, and we'll see what happens. But very impressive all in all. So MLB playoffs for you. In terms of other sports worlds, the Florida Gators are in dire straits right now. Half their team, I feel like, has tested positive for COVID. Their coach tested positive. They got some assistant coaches that tested positive. Their LSU game had to get delayed. The next game they have is getting postponed as well. So it's just a hot mess. I mean, that's just Florida for you, and in my opinion. I'm speaking from someone that doesn't live in Florida, obviously, but I'm just like, yeah, that all tracks. That all seems about right. So that's
it's not a good thing to laugh about. I apologize for laughing about it.
I know, but it is kind of. I mean, I think the irony is that the head coach of Florida, had the audacity to, after they lost to Texas A&M, to be like, we should pack the stadium with 90,000 fans so we can get our home field advantage. And I'm like, no, we shouldn't. No, no. I know. Ron DeSantis says let's do it, but no. So anyway, that's that. The only really thing I've been watching besides Trial of Chicago 7, which rocked my world too, is the Chef Show, which my dad, Bruce Brown, just mentioned on the Listener's Corner. I finished the first volume of it on Netflix. I think it's 8 episodes in total. I talked about it, I think, maybe a few episodes back, about like the Avengers episode and stuff like that. It's awesome. I love Johnny V. We talked about Mandalorian, obviously, and Johnny V is a bright spot in our lives. But the Chef Show is awesome. It's really, really fun on Netflix. I would check it out if you haven't. If you like Jon Favreau, you like cooking. If you liked the movie Chef, I think 2014, if you like Chef, it's a great movie. Check the show out. It's kind of a really fun, nice extension of that. The last 2 episodes of the first volume involve Aaron Franklin, who was a barbecue chef in Austin, Texas. And I mean, I might have probably talked to you, Andrew. I can't remember if I've talked about it on the podcast. I feel like I probably have, but Texas barbecue is a way of life.
It's just ridiculous.
And Franklin barbecue is my favorite barbecue. Jordan introduced it. My brother Jordan introduced me to it. Few time previous guest of this podcast, I should say, Jordan. Went to law school in Texas, lived in Austin for a few years, and I, for the most part, have been making regular trips to Texas ever since he's been there. This year kind of being an exception for obvious circumstances. And anytime we can, we go to Franklin Barbecue because they have the meanest fucking brisket in the land. And I swear it is so, so amazing. And so the 7th episode of this volume was kind of about Franklin Barbecue specifically, and
that's awesome.
Cut of briskets and stuff like that. And then the 8th episode was kind of like this food. It wasn't really a competition. It was just kind of like a gathering of just different chefs kind of coming together and doing barbecue cookouts and stuff like that. And so that double dose of just Aaron Franklin Barbecue episodes just made me so much miss Franklin Barbecue and brisket and all of it. Usually I go to Austin City Limits for the music festival, and that obviously was canceled. So 2020 fucking sucks, is what I'm saying. And I don't know if I should have watched those episodes, because I now have just a really, really strong desire to get some good barbecue, and I know that that's not really a thing around here. So, it just made me really anxiously await the next time I get a chance to head out to Austin. But it's a great show. It really, I mean, My dad talked about it in the Listener's Corner, and it's a really, really entertaining show. There's like 4 volumes up on Netflix now too, so I'm like way behind. So I'm just kind of running through it as much as I can, kind of when I have free time here and there, and it's really, really good. So the last thing I'll say is my parents actually did manage to sneak in a visit up here in Philadelphia this past weekend, which was really, really nice. They live in Florida now, but they were able to kind of travel. They had some circumstances that allowed them to kind of be up in the neighborhood more or less. And so we were pretty restricted in what we could do, obviously, but we did get a chance to explore a little bit of Philadelphia. Got a nice cheesesteak from Jim's on South Street. Recommended for folks that can make it to Philadelphia at any point. And walking around, a little bit of sightseeing as much as we could. But we played it. It was my mom's birthday this past Friday. So happy birthday! I said happy birthday already to her. I was with her in person, but happy birthday! If
well,
you
happy birthday! I don't think
because
I wished her a happy birthday on the Facebook. I didn't see it.
That's all right. That's all right. I don't know if it was listed there, but I gave her a copy of Splendor for her birthday as she specifically requested it. So we've turned my parents into Splendor fiends.
Are they into Splendor?
Many a game. We played many games in our hotel. So yeah, I think Anna joined us for a few of them. I think we played probably 4 or 5 games. I think 4 games in total, and I think I won 2 of them, and then my dad won the other 2. And one of those games, I'm sure he will probably want me to confess, he kicked our asses. It was not even close. So. So yeah, thanks for the Splendor rec, because it is given a lot of life. Anna's parents love Splendor. Like Splendor it's a way of life around me, to be honest. Like it really has just spread because they have their own copy of it. Anna and I have our own copy of it, and now my parents have their own copy of it. So I thought you might get a kick out of that.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Anyway, that's it for me. I guess we can go ahead and wrap it up unless you have anything else to add.
I would recommend in your circles, if you can find a way to have a tour de Splendor, that's what I call it. Tour de force, tour de Splendor. I'm a big tour de guy. But we had a tour de Splendor competition. Yes,
like a bracket type thing, or
exactly.
Okay.
Yes. And you happen to be speaking to the king of Splendor.
Let's see.
So if you can find a way to have a competition, perhaps we can have a northeast and a southeast Tour de Splendor competition.
Yeah, it'll be fun. It'll be fun. Yeah.
Other than that, though, that's all I got, man.
All right. Well, in that case, thank you all for listening. If you enjoyed what you heard, please spread the word. If you don't want to support us on Patreon at patreon.com/watchreviewrepeat, $2 a month will get you access to, get you early access to all of our regular episodes, as well as timed exclusive access to all of our bonus episodes, like our forthcoming Studio Ghibli episode, which is, again, still forthcoming, but very much happening, hopefully in the near future. We sound like a broken record at this point. I do it every episode, and I feel bad, but like we're gonna do it. We're gonna do it. We're committed. Our website, if you need to get access to any of our episodes or links to our socials, anything of that nature, it's watchreviewrepeat.com. Alternatively, if you just want to follow us directly on Twitter, we are at WRRPod. On Facebook, you can just search for Watch Review Repeat and just like our page that way. If you, too, want to be part of the Listener's Corner like Bruce Brown, and you have some thoughts on Enola Holmes, The Boys, the Trial of the Chicago 7, or anything else you've been up to, please send your thoughts our way. watchreviewrepeat@gmail.com. We are watching vigilantly, waiting for you to write in. So do it. Our intro and outro track is Mechanolith by Kevin MacLeod, licensed under the Creative Commons by Attribution 3.0 license. And our next episode will be, it's kind of weird because usually we do like a Halloween bonus episode and we're like so behind on bonus episodes that I'm like, I'm not fucking with that shit. So what we're going to be doing is, I think the plan right now is we're going to cover Lovecraft Country because, it feels like a horror type of thing that seems appropriate for Halloween. And just wrapped up not too long ago. So I've still got a lot of episodes to catch up on, but that's kind of my game plan for the next bit of time here. And, I know our hope is that we can get that out with our regular episode schedule, so it'll be up before Halloween, and that'll be a nice little spooky episode for our listeners to enjoy. So yeah, that's something to look forward to. Don't you agree?
I completely agree. I've got one episode to watch, and I'm done.
Cool. All right. Well, in that case, we will catch you on the next episode, and I will say to our listeners, be excellent to each other.
Party on, dudes.